Chapter 16, The Forces of Light. Earthland, Forest/Carriage. Why the hell am I in this grand strategy, anyway? Lucy cried as the team sat in the back of the carriage taking them towards their destination. I think it's a pain too, don't you start complaining, Gray sighed. This is the master's decision, Urza added. Do we not have a duty to live up to his expectations? But what about Gajeel and Juvia? They'd be much better suited for a battle like this, Lucy reasoned. You shouldn't put yourself down like that, Naruto told her. You're a member of Fairy Tail too, you know. Those two are both busy with other work, Urza replied. Are we still not there yet? Natsu groaned as the carriage hit a bump on the road. In the end, we're just the same old group as always, Lucy sighed. Surely that's a good thing? Urza countered. This is our first strategy meeting with the delegates from the other guilds. It's important that we have good relations within our own delegation at least. The last thing we need when we fight the enemy is bad teamwork, Naruto added. There it is, Happy spoke up as he pointed forward at a large building they were approaching. That's the meeting point, Urza nodded. Let's go, Naruto grinned at the sight. Earthland, Master Bob's villa. I don't know about this place. Lucy trailed off as she looked over the surprisingly clean entrance hall. This place's decor is seriously creepy. Maybe the guy who owns it isn't right in the head, Naruto quipped. Happy agreed. This is Master Bob's villa, from Blue Pegasus, Urza explained. Him? Gray frowned. I am not so good with him. Now, don't go there, Urza shivered. He's powerful enough to give our own master a run for his money, despite that. I see. Lucy chuckled nervously. Am I missing something? Naruto asked them. It's a long story, you don't want to know, Gray responded. Seriously, you really don't want to know. Okay, Naruto said finally with a shrug. Are we there yet? Natsu groaned as he sat down on the red carpet. Yes, we're here Natsu, Happy replied. Yes, you've arrived. Arrived? What the fuck? Naruto turned quickly towards the source of the voices. Hey. Welcome. Fairy Tail folks. A light shone down from the ceiling and illuminated everything at the foot of the stairs where three figures now stood. Sorry to keep you waiting, the three newcomers said as one. They appeared to all be male and dressed in smart business suits. We are the representatives chosen from Blue Pegasus, Trimons. Hibiki of the 100 Knights introduced the tallest of the three. Eve of the Holy Knight continued the shortest of the three. Run of the Silent Knight finished the last of the three. Trimons from Blue Pegasus? Lucy asked in surprise. How cool, and the one called Hibiki, he's always at the top of the, I wish he were my boyfriend, ranking in Weekly Sorcerer. You're that Hibiki late is, she blushed when he smiled at her. I could beat his ass, and his ass, are you kidding me? That guy wouldn't last a second in a fight against me, Naruto thought as he looked from one of the Trimen to another. Crap, I forgot my clothes, Gray panicked when he found himself dressed in nothing but his boxers again and Natsu leaned against the pillar beside him ready to pass out at any moment. Those guy? Not a chance. Lucy sighed and turned away. Your beauty doesn't do the rumors justice, Hibiki spoke with a dazzling smile. How do you do, Titania? Eve bowed to the red-headed knight. Now, come this way, Ren smiled as he appeared behind her and went to place a hand on her shoulder. Like hell, Naruto's eyes darkened and a second later space and time bent around him as he switched places with Urza. Kawarimi no Jutsu, he thought as he turned and grabbed Ren's outstretched wrist. Let's get one thing straight, we may be allies but I sure as hell won't let you touch any of the girls on our team, understand, he said the last part with a short burst of the Kyuubi's killing intent. Needless to say it was enough to bring the three players to their knees gasping for air. How did he switch places with me? Urza thought as she looked over at her boyfriend. He never does talk about what magic he uses, she shivered when he released a bit of his demonic aura but pushed away her disgust at the feeling. Enough, we're supposed to be allies so let's conduct this operation like the civilized people we pretend to be. Right, Naruto nodded and released Ren's wrist before walking over to Urza. Guests, a new voice spoke up as someone descended the stairs. Stay right where you are. You've got to be kidding me, Naruto's eyes widened at the sight of the newcomer. My eyes, turn away damn it. Naruto. I don't want to see this, the Kyuubi shouted from the back of his mind in horror. That's worse than staring at your closet full of orange jumpsuits back in Konoha? What's that silky smooth voice? Lucy shivered and turned. It's Ichiya-sama, Ren replied. Ichiya? Urza stammered. It has been quite a while, Urza-san. Ichiya spoke as he pulled out a blue rose. I can't believe it, Urza started to shake as she stared up at him. You're joining us? Urza? Who is this guy? Naruto asked. I've longed to see you again, my honey. Ichiya smiled down at her. He was a short man with orange spiky hair, a square mouth and dressed in a white business suit. Ichiya is here, at your service. My honey? Lucy and Happy yelled in shock. What the fuck? Naruto asked slowly. Urza is shaking, Lucy and Happy said as the redhead continued to shake. What an unexpected reunion, Ichiya proclaimed as he slid down the banister. You're Ichiya-sama's girlfriend? Asked the Tri-Men. How rude of us, they bowed as one in apology. I deny it with all my might. Urza shot back. Great, so this guy is delusional too, Naruto muttered. Like Urza would fall for a guy like that. I've heard about you before, Ichiya smiled. Urza-san, Lucy-san, not interested, he said as he looked them over one at a time. Urza, if you don't do something about this guy very soon, I'm going to hit him with a full blast of its chakra, Naruto said as he glared at Ichiya. He's creeping me out, Lucy shivered. Sorry, I can't really handle him either, Urza said as she took a step back. He may be an incredible wizard, but… Listen up, you crappy blue Pegasus boy toys, Gray spoke up. How about you stop making passes at our princesses, huh? You men can go home now, Ichiya deadpanned. Thanks for coming, the Tri-Men bowed as if to dismiss them. They send posers like you on an important mission? I could wipe the floor with you, Gray shot back. Try us, Ren dared. We're strong, even formed. A fight? Let me join, Natsu grinned. Stop it, you two, Urza interrupted. Urza-san, Ichiya spoke as he appeared at her side. Your parfum is incredible, as always. Stay away from me. Urza yelled as she punched him in the face, sending him flying back. Men, Ichiya groaned as he flew. She went and did it. Lucy exclaimed in surprise. About damn time, Naruto grumbled. Men, Ichiya said again as he sailed towards the door. Someone walked through the doorway and caught Ichiya by the head before he could go any further. A second later Ichiya's head was frozen in ice as the newcomer chuckled. This is quite the greeting, the newcomer said. You consider yourselves equal to Lamia scale? Lion? Gray asked in surprise. Gray? Lion asked back, equally surprised. So you joined a guild, Natsu grinned as Lion threw Ichiya to the floor. Men, handsome, men. Ichiya gasped as the ice around his head shattered and he rolled to a stop beside the Tri-Men. What the hell are you doing? Gray asked his childhood friend. What? He started it, Lion shrugged. This is getting more messed up by the minute, Naruto commented. You're new, Lion said as he looked over the blonde Jinchuriki. I don't remember you fighting at Galuna Island. It was before his time, Gray responded. What do you think you're doing to our general? Ren glared. How awful, Eve agreed. I think all the men should leave, Hibiki suggested. Oh? But there is a woman here as well, spoke a seductive voice from behind Lion. Ninjiojiki, suddenly the carpet under Lucy's feet shot up into the air, surprising her. Wait, this magic dash, Lucy stammered as she regained her footing. Oh ho ho, don't try pretending you've forgotten me, said a woman with pink hair as the carpet fell around her. It's time for you to all forget about the past me, I have been reborn for the sake of love. Sherry. Lucy trailed off. More. Ichiya exclaimed as he rushed forward. I need to smell more of that glorious perfume. Stay away or I'll slice you, Urza threatened shakily. Keep your hands off her, Naruto growled as he kicked Ichiya away. I have been itching to do that all day. Lion, Gray greeted. Gray, Lion nodded back. Bring it on punks. Natsu challenged causing the Tri-Men to glare. You, I cannot love, Sherry smiled coldly towards Lucy. I don't like you either, Lucy shot back. Enough, a new voice shouted from the doorway. We are here to form an alliance and defeat the Oration Cease. This is no time to be fighting amongst ourselves. Jura-san. Lion trailed off. Jura? Urza asked in surprise. This man. Run mused. The ace of Lamia, Rock Iron Jura. Hibiki confirmed. Who? Natsu asked. He's one of the 10 wizard saints, Happy explained. You mean like the old man and Jose? Naruto asked. Aye, Happy nodded. Even I've heard of that name, Lucy shuddered. 5 fairies, and 4 Pegasi, I see, but 3 of us will be quite sufficient, Sherry smiled. 3 of the guilds are now assembled, Jura spoke up. All that remains is the delegation from Kate Shelter. You say, delegation, but from what I hear, they are only sending a single mage, a bloody Ichiya added. A single mage? Those assholes are only gonna give us on mage to help out in this stupidly dangerous mission? Gray demanded. Wait, don't tell me it's going to be some stupidly powerful person? Lucy stammered out as a single figure appeared in the doorway. No way, Naruto thought as the newcomer tripped and fell forward. I am sorry I'm so late, the newcomer said as she stood up and dusted herself off. I'm from Kate Shelter, my name is Wendy. It was a 12-year-old girl with long blue hair and wearing a yellow dress. Pleased to be working with you all. A child? Lucy asked with wide eyes. A girl? Jura asked confused. Wendy? Natsu muttered. All the guilds are now assembled, Jura declared. Whoa, hold it, Gray spoke up. An offensive endeavor of this scale, and they send us a single child? Sherry questioned. What do Kate Shelter think they're playing at? Alone? I think not, you tawdry woman, another voice spoke up as a white cat stepped out from behind Wendy. Carla? You followed me? Wendy asked in surprise. But of course, the white cat said simply. I would worry to no end if you were to go off alone. A cat, the Tri-Men exclaimed. Another talking cat, Naruto blinked. As if one wasn't enough, he sighed as he saw Happy become dazed when he saw the female cat. I can't actually fight at all, but I know lots of support magic that should be useful to you all. Wendy said nervously. So please don't leave me out completely, she cried. Honestly, Carla sighed. It's that timidity of yours that makes people look down on you. My apologies, Urza smiled at the two. We were a little taken aback, but I'm sure nobody meant you any insult. We look forward to working with you, Wendy. Yeah, Naruto agreed. Welcome to the crew. Thank you, Wendy bowed to hide her reddening face. So these are the Urza and Naruto of Fairy Tail. Titania and the Maelstrom, huh? They seem dependable at least, Carla thought. I thought they'd send the Dark Knight too. Now that everyone is here, can we get on with this now? Naruto asked before the Tri-Men could surround the blue-haired little girl. Yes, Ichiya nodded. I shall proceed to the explanation of our strategy. But first I must visit the perfume of the lavatory. Let's get on with this already, Naruto gritted out in annoyance. We came here to do a job, not sniff perfume all day. Do not insult the perfume, Ichiya glared darkly. Ichiya, Jura spoke up. Please. North of our current location lies the Worth Woodlands, Ichiya explained. It is there that a mighty magic was sealed away in ancient times. Its name is Nirvana. Nirvana? Lucy asked. Never heard of it, Lion added. Have you, Jura? Asked Sherry. No, Jura replied. I know not the name. We know that its destructive power was so great that the people back then saw fit to seal it, Ren continued. But we don't know exactly what kind of magic it was, Eve added. But since Oration Cease have gathered in the Worth Woodlands, we should assume that Nirvana is their goal, Hibiki finished. In order to prevent them from obtaining it, we must defeat them now. A power sealed away because of the destruction it can cause, Naruto thought. Where have I heard that before? We have 13 mages, whilst they have but 6. But we would do well not to underestimate them, Hibiki continued. Each of those 6 mages is extremely powerful, he said as several images of the Oration Cease appeared in the air beside him. Cobra, who uses poisonous snakes, Racer, whose name would appear to indicate that he uses speed-related magic, Hot Eye of the Heavens Eye, Angel, a woman who is said to be able to see into your heart. Information on this man is scarce, but he is known as Midnight, and finally is their leader, Brain. Each of these mages has power enough to annihilate a guild single-handedly. We must take full advantage of our superior numbers. Maybe you shouldn't have come along, Naruto, Lucy said nervously. Yeah, Gray agreed. At least then these guys might have a chance. Are you telling me that you don't want me here? Naruto mock glared at the two. I shouldn't really be counted in this, Lucy sighed. I mean, we all saw what you did to the landscape when you beat Pain, Nagato, so you really should fill in my place. Sorry, that's not happening, Naruto smiled back. I have to agree, Urza spoke up. Having Naruto step onto the battlefield is overkill, even by our standards, she mused as she thought back to the sheer destruction that battle had done to the area. Hell, people were already calling it the Scar of Pain, and there were even people trying to turn it into a tourist attraction. Is he really that strong? Wendy thought as she looked over at the blonde Jinchuriki. She'd heard of his exploits, seriously, who hadn't? Despite being relatively new to Fairy Tail, he had quickly rose to be recognized as one of the strongest in the guild, probably second only to Makarov and Gildarts themselves. According to the Weekly Sorcerer, he was even dating Titania, and the aftermath of the battlefield between him and the man known simply as Pain wasn't on the level of normal fight between mages. They'd turned a mountain range into a war zone and left nothing but chaos and destruction scattered everywhere. Are you saying I should stay here? Naruto asked them. Because that is not going to happen. Our strategy is not limited to simple combat, Ichiya continued a little annoyed at being ignored. The important point is that we locate their base of operations. Their base? Lion asked. We have yet to confirm this for certain, but we believe they have established a temporary base of operations in the woodlands, Ren explained. If at all possible, we want to get all 6 of them together at that base, Ichiya finished. How do we do that? Gray asked. By beating them up. Natsu shouted out his answer. Back to simple combat already, I see. Lucy sighed. He's got the right idea, Naruto grinned. What do we do once they are gathered there? Urza inquired. We use our guild's mighty Pegasus airship, the Christina, to destroy their base and them along with it, Ichiya answered. A magical bomber? Sherry asked nervously. An airship like the ones used by Yukigekure no Sato? Naruto thought as he remembered his mission to save that land of snow. You're breaking out a bomber craft against humans? Lucy asked. That is the nature of the enemy we face, Jura reasoned. Now, take heed, if combat does ensue, nobody attempt to face an enemy alone. You must always battle in groups of at least 2. Right, Natsu grinned. I'm all pumped now, he ran out of the villa. I'm gonna take all 6 of them on by myself. Natsu! Happy yelled. Try listening to the strategy. Lucy called after him. This is because I beat pain, isn't it? Naruto asked. 6 on 1, Urza nodded. I suppose we should go after him, she said, causing Lucy to cry. That absolute idiot, Gray muttered as the 4 remaining fairy tale mages ran after their comrade. Well? What are you waiting for? Naruto called over his shoulder with a wide smile. Let's go wild already. Chapter 17, The Nightmare Reborn. Earthland, Worth Woodlands. I can see it. Natsu shouted as he ran. It's the woods. Wait up, Natsu. Gray called after him. I don't wanna. Natsu yelled back. Don't start running like you did before. Urza shouted. Wait, you guys. You are running too fast, Lucy huffed as she pushed herself to keep up with them. Princess, may we carry you? Hibiki asked as he appeared at her side. I'll hold your hand, Eve offered. Stay close to me, Ren finished. Annoying. Lucy yelled at them. You're too slow, Wendy, Carla said as she pulled the blue-haired girl along. Here, Naruto said as he lifted Wendy onto his shoulder with Carla. You'll fall behind if you keep running like that, he said as he accelerated to catch up with the others. Thank you, Wendy said as her face reddened. What the hell is that? Naruto asked as he stopped beside the rest of the group as a large shadow covered them. That's the anti-demon assault ship Christina, Urza replied. Where's the balloon? Naruto blinked. The airships from my homeland only stayed in the air because of their balloons. You're thinking of a blimp, Urza corrected when suddenly explosions riddled the Christina's frame. What the dash, she started as the airship fell and crashed down in front them. Sabotage? What's going on? Lion asked surprised. Someone's coming, Gray said as the dust cleared. Wendy, Carla spoke as Naruto set her down. Take cover, Naruto told her. We'll handle this. Alright, Wendy stammered and quickly took cover behind a nearby boulder. And that was when the 6 members of the Oration Cease appeared from the smoke. Some maggots have gathered, Brain sneered. Your way of thinking is too predictable, Angel smirked. We've already beaten Jura and Ichiya. What? Lion asked in surprise. No way, Ran denied. Are you trembling? Cobra sneered. I heard it. We prefer to finish our job as quickly as possible, Racer spoke up. But you guys are in the way. Money makes a person stronger, right? Hot Eye inquired. Let me tell you something good, in this world money is ever T-dash. Shut up, Hot Eye, Cobra grunted. I think one of them is asleep, Lucy said as she stared at the lone figure sitting with his head slumped on a hovered carpet. I never expected them to make the first move, Urza muttered. Then it's a good thing that I did, Naruto responded as 100 of his shadow clones jumped out of the trees around them and descended upon the 6th member of the Oration Cease. He must have created the clones back when we were running through the forest, Urza thought. Do it, Brain ordered and Racer shot forward in a burst of speed. Just as Racer was about to attack the clone army he took notice of something odd. His magic, which slowed down his opponent's sense of time and thus allowed him to move faster than anyone else, didn't seem to be affecting these guys. Confusion turned to shock as the clones around him landed several solid hits to his face and ribs before one of them slid under him and kicked him up into the air. Uzumaki Naruto Rendan, the clone army called out as attack from all sides and pummeled the surprised Oration Cease member. With one final spinning axe kick to the head, Racer was hurled down and crashed into the ground. Rasengan, one the clones exclaimed as he descended upon the badly hurt Racer and slammed a spinning chakra sphere down into his chest with a mighty explosion. I don't know what kind of freaky magic he was using to mess up my normal eye, but you can't trick the Sharingan with something like that. Impossible, to be defeated so easily? Brain thought as the dust cleared and revealed the real Naruto standing alone with a beaten racer dangling from his hand. Is that it? Is that the best you've got? Naruto asked. Because if it is, then I'm disappointed. I was hoping for a challenge, but if this is the best you've got, then there's just no helping it. You're screwed. This guy, he took down a member of the Oration Cease in a matter of seconds, Lion mused. He's no ordinary mage. You'll regret challenging us, Cobra sneered. Hey guys? Naruto called over his shoulder. Let's go wild, he grinned as he threw out a kunai to the side with an explosive tag attached to it. It exploded upon contact with the ground and Natsu grinned at the sight of the newly created flames. I'm all revved up, Natsu laughed as he eat flames and a moment later scales started to form over his skin. Doragon Fosu, he roared as flames danced across his body. Kanso, Tenrin no Yoroi, Urza whispered her heaven's wheel armor materialized over her body. Karuto Ikusukariba, Gray said as he brought his hands together and formed a very sharp blade of ice in his hands. He lifted the sword up and rested it on his shoulder as a small smirk slipped onto his face. Open, Gate of the Lion, Leo, Lucy whispered and Loki appeared at her side in an instant. This was something they'd talked about, namely that he would use his own power to appear at her side, leaving her with more magic power to call in reinforcements should the need arise. I'm ready, Loki nodded with a dazzling smile as he shifted his glasses slightly. Your prince is here. These guys? Lion thought as he watched on. They're nothing like they were back on Galuna Island. Senjutsu, Sanin Moto, Naruto said calmly as orange rings appeared around his eyes and his pupils elongated horizontally like that of a toad's. Tajukage Bunshin no Jutsu, he said as he formed the familiar hand seal and another 100 clones appeared around them. Take them down. Here we go, Urza thought as she rushed forward, right behind the clone army. Senpo, Cho Udama Rasen Terengan, the clone army bellowed as they descended on the Oration Cease members with large spinning chakra spheres in hand twice the size of their own bodies. Tokoyami Kaisenkyoku. Brain roared back as darkness gathered at the head of his staff. He released the built-up energy and it washed over the attacking clones. There are too many of them, he thought in anger. Break off, he shouted and the members of the Oration Cease split apart. Futon, Raisin Shuriken, the real Naruto exclaimed as he hurled a white chakra shuriken right at Hot Eye. I got you, he yelled as his attack struck the surprised Hot Eye in the chest and expanded into a ball of wind. A few seconds later it exploded with an echoing boom signifying the end of the Oration Cease member. Why you, Cobra snarled. Go, Cuberos, he ordered and his purple snake shot out right at Urza. Rasengan. Naruto shouted as he slammed a spiraling sphere of chakra into Snake's head, knocking it out. No! Cobra shouted in horror at the sight. Tenrin, Rairin no Ken. Urza exclaimed as she struck Cobra across the chest with her swords with a cross slash. Damn it, Cobra grunted in pain as he pushed himself away. Karyu no Tekken. Natsu roared as he appeared in front of Cobra with his fist covered in flames and punched Cobra in the stomach. Damn you! Cobra winced as he crashed through one of the trees. Karyu no Hoko. Natsu bellowed as he unleashed one massive blast of fire at Cobra. The blast died down a few seconds later and a bleeding Cobra stood with a crazed look in his eye. I'll make you pay for this. Cobra roared in anger. Tokiyami Kisakyoku. Brain exclaimed as he unleashed a blast of dark magic from the face atop his staff at Naruto, who dodged to the side at the last second. Urza. Be ready, Naruto shouted as he landed in a crouch and focused his Mangekyo Sharingan at Brain. Kamui, he whispered as space and time distorted at the head of Brain's staff. What? Brain yelled in surprise as half of his staff skull head was ripped off and cast into a spinning vortex of space and time. Now! Naruto roared. Kanso, Muju no Yoroi, Urza whispered as white armor materialized over her body with orange shoulder pads and orange skirt. Koshi no Ken, she exclaimed as she brought her two short swords together and a beam of light shot out. Did we get him that time? Naruto thought as he stared at the resulting dust cloud created from Urza's last attack. Karyu no Hoko. Natsu bellowed as he released a massive blast of fire from his mouth. Dokuryu no Hoko. Cobra countered with a stream of dark red poison. You can't beat me. Then I'll end it with this. Natsu roared as golden flames exploded from his form. Metsuryu Oji, Shiranui Gata, Girin Huken, he called out as the flames took the shape of an arrow and he launched himself right at the poison dragon slayer. What is that? Cobra thought as the flaming arrow struck him in the stomach and Natsu pushed him back. Fire and dust exploded upwards as the two tore through the forest, leaving a long line of destruction in their wake before finally coming to a stop in the middle of the clearing. How could he? He thought as he slumped to the ground with Natsu standing over him covered in flames. Never underestimate fairy tale, Natsu growled out. Even Cobra fell to them, Brain thought as he felt another rune slide off of his face. At least Midnight has awakened. You woke me? Midnight asked as he sluggishly stood up. Midnight, Brain spoke clearly. I'll leave these weaklings to you while I deal with this boy, however I want the girl with blue hair alive. Wendy? Naruto thought as he launched himself forward. Like we'll let you get your hands on one of our comrades. No one can defeat my magic, Midnight smirked. I'll be your opponent, Urza declared as she leveled her sword at her newly awakened foe. Open, Gate of the Ram, Ares, Angel smiled as she summoned her stellar spirit. I'm Soreleo, Ares cried. Ares? Loki asked surprised. That's not fair, Lucy said angrily. What are you doing with Karen's spirit? Well, I was the one who killed her, Angel shrugged. This is just the spoils of war. This isn't the way the two of you should meet again, close, Lucy said as she held up her golden key to dismiss Loki. Don't look down on me, Lucy, Loki said as he grabbed her hand, stopping her. She may be an old friend of mine, but if our owners differ, we are enemies. A stellar spirit must always fight for his master, even if we owe that enemy a great debt, for our master's sake, we must defeat them, for this is our pride. He lunged at Ares who in turn moved to engage him. Damn it! Lucy gritted out as she watched the two fought. You destroyed Clodoa, Brain sneered as kicked at him only for him to deflect it with what remained of his staff. For that you and your friends will die here, he struck forward and slammed his open palm into Naruto's chest, sending him sliding back. Jiritsu Hokai Mahajin. What the hell? Naruto gasped as a purple seal spread out across his chest. What did you do to me? That is a spell known only to myself and a young man named Jalal. It is an extremely complex rune spell that destroys whatever or whoever it is placed upon. Don't bother trying to dispel it, Brain chuckled darkly. Without the cancellation code it cannot be stopped. You bastard, Naruto gritted out as the spell started to spread over his form. Naruto! Urza called out as she rushed towards him. Just then the runes emblazoned on Naruto's body connected with his stomach and suddenly turned a sinister red. Drip, 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 drip. Bang! Naruto's mindscape, Jinchuriki seal. The Kyuubi couldn't help but chuckle as the purple runes covered that annoying tag on its cage door and spread out across the bars. The bars were rusting and the paper tag was withering as the fox's chakra corroded the walls of the chamber. Naruto stood in front of the cage door and stared up in rising horror as the seal collapsed before his eyes. Finally, the Kyuubi laughed as the paper tag fell away and disintegrated. That mortal has no clue what he has done. I won't let you escape, Naruto declared. You don't have a choice, the Kyuubi snarled back as the runes vanished. Ah, it's been a long time, since I've had a taste of freedom, it smiled and swiped with its claws, flinging the cage doors open. No! Naruto yelled as he jumped up at the beast. Let's settle this. Naruto! Kyuubi roared and blew its container back, shattering the mindscape in its unholy rage. Earthland, Worth Woodlands. What happened? Brain asked in surprise as his runes disappeared from Naruto's body. The blonde seemed to sway for a second before his eyes fluttered and he collapsed to his knees. Naruto! Urza shouted as she rushed over to his fallen form. Before she could get close however an overwhelmingly oppressive aura descended upon the battlefield as Naruto screamed in pain. She brought her arms up to cover herself as she was hurled backwards by a massive blast of demonic crimson chakra. The fighting all around had stopped. Because standing there, tall over the body of its former container was the infamous Kyuubi no Yoko. Kurama. I'm free. Chapter 18, Child of Prophecy. Earthland, Worth Woodlands. Holy shit! Gray shouted in surprise. Is that really what Naruto kept imprisoned all of this time? Look at the size of that thing, Hibiki said as he stared up at the monstrous beast. What's going on here? Naruto, Urza thought as she recovered from the shock and looked down at her boyfriend. Ah, freedom, it feels good to be free again, the Kyuubi breathed before lifting his front paws up and howling to the heavens just like had done 16 years ago when he was released from his previous container. Come on, wake up you useless fool, Urza pleaded as she dropped to her knees beside the motionless form of Naruto Uzumaki. She checked for a pulse but found none and then tried again, there was one though it was very faint. You are not leaving me, do you hear me, Naruto? My last container may have survived my release but just because he is her child does not mean he is the same, the Kyuubi chuckled darkly as he turned towards the remaining members of the Oration Cease. Now I believe I should give my thanks for releasing me from my prison. What are you? Brain inquired cautiously. When he had placed his rune spell on the blonde young man it was supposed to kill him, not release this creature from its obvious confinement. Something too much for your feeble minds to comprehend, the Kyuubi sneered. Now allow me to give you your reward. 3 of his tails lashed out and crushed Angel, Midnight and Cobra, releasing a series of massive shockwaves upon impact. Stop! Brain shouted. Ha 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 ha, the QB laughed and devoured the last member of Oration Cease in one bite. He didn't taste very good, he commented with a smirk before turning his attention on the member of the Mage Alliance. Now to deal with you lot. Why yo, Furball, I am still here, Naruto groaned as he struggled to sit up. Naruto, you need to rest, Urza told him. I'm fine, Naruto grunted. Defiant until the end, the QB sneered. Your mother was the same way, never giving up even at the end, even as my claws tore through her body. My mother? Naruto rasped out. You'll be joining her soon, the QB growled as he leaned back and brought his tails up to his mouth. Blue and red chakra leaked out from the fox's body and started to gather into a black chakra sphere hovering between the tips of his tails. Oh shit! Gray yelled. Is that what I think it is? We can't outrun that. Lucy shouted. We need a medic. Urza shouted to the other mages present. I can help, Wendy replied as she rushed over with Carla. I've never really healed this kind of damage before, but I might be able to. You heal him while I handle this. Urza exclaimed as silver and blue armor formed over her body with a pair of blue shields. Kanso, Kongo no Yoroi. The adamantine armor? Don't tell me Urza is planning on blocking that? Lucy asked in shock. Urza! Don't do it! Natsu shouted out. I know you upgraded that armor of yours, but if you use it like this then you'll die. Naruto pleaded. By Jidama. Kurama bellowed as he consumed the chakra sphere and then unleashed it in an earth-shattering blast towards the unmoving Urza, whom had already brought her shields up and erected her defensive barrier. The blast struck the purple magic barrier first and exploded in a torrent of light. Urza screamed as some of the energy bled through and formed cracks in her armor and shields. She dropped to one knee as her shields crumbled and couldn't watch in horror as the blast washed over her, obliterating her armor and sending her tattered body crashing to the ground next to a barely moving Naruto. Silence. Urza, please, answer me. Naruto pleaded as he looked over at her motionless form. She didn't reply. Bastard. Natsu roared as he lunged right at the demon fox. Karyu no Tekken, his face ignited in fire and he launched himself forward, landing a solid punch to the side of the QB's jaw. Annoying little brat, Kurama growled and released a shockwave, blowing Natsu back towards the others. You may have blocked one of my attacks, but I have more where that came from, he roared as he brought his tails together and started forming another black chakra sphere. Again? Lucy gritted out. By my calculations, without Urza we will not be able to survive another attack like that, Eve spoke up. Shit, Gray thought as he cast a look back at both unmoving forms of Naruto and Urza. What do I do? Hey, Naruto. Urza breathed out as she turned her head towards him. Why you're alive? Naruto asked with a relieved smile. I love you, Urza said slowly. I've never been able to say that. She loves me? Naruto thought in surprise. No one had ever said that to him before, and because of his status as a Jinchuriki he had never really had much of a love life back in Konoha. But since he had come to Earthland and met Urza, he had started to care for her more than anyone else. I think I love you too. You think? Urza asked him. I've never really felt like this before, Naruto explained. Marry me. What? Urza cried. If we live through this, will you marry me? Naruto asked her. Do you really think now is the best time? Urza asked back. There's no time like the present, Naruto responded smiled. Yes, I will marry you, Urza agreed and he leaned over to kiss her. By Jidama. Kurama bellowed as he released the black chakra sphere at the mages. It traveled towards its target in a torrent of light. And 3 figures descended from the heavens. Shinra Tensei. Amaterasu. Shikigami Daibakuha Rundan. Gravity shifted and formed a barrier around the group as the blast washed over them and tore apart the mountainside. Black flames lashed at the QB's body as hundreds of explosive tags bombarded the demon fox. When the dust cleared, 3 figures stood with their backs to the Mage Alliance, each wearing black cloaks with red clouds emblazoned on them. And no way, Lucy stammered at the sight. Itachi, Nagato, Conan, Naruto said in surprise. What the hell are you guys doing here? We came to lend a hand, Nagato replied. Itachi, he nodded toward the Uchiha. I only need a moment, Itachi nodded back and turned before approaching Naruto. What are you doing? Wendy stuttered as the Uchiha knelt down and a black crow emerged from his sleeve. Relax Wendy-chan, Naruto grunted. He's a friend, most of the time. This won't taste very well, Itachi admitted. What do you dash? Naruto began only to be interrupted by the black crow literally diving into his mouth and down his throat. What the fuck was that for? I gave you some of my power, Itachi explained. You should be fine in a few minutes. You! Kurama roared as he released a shockwave and literally blew the black flames away. You dare to interfere? The fake Rikudo Sennin and one of those disgusting Uchiha. I'll crush you. Stand back, Konan, Nagato ordered and brought his hands up into a triangle seal. Chibaku Tensei, gravity compressed into a sphere within in palm and he threw it up into the sky. Its ray shone down on the battlefield and a second later the mountainside shifted as it was being lifted off of the ground and towards the gravity sphere. What is this magic? Lion inquired as the Kyuubi was pulled up and buried inside the now small artificial moon. It's the power of a god, Nagato replied as several sections of the moon started to crack. Though admittedly, I am nowhere near as powerful as the original Rikudo Sennin. Guys? He's breaking out. Lucy shouted. She pointed up at the artificial moon. I refuse to be beaten by a faker. Kurama roared as he burst out of the side of the artificial moon. He dug himself out of Chibaku Tensei with brute force? Nagato gritted out. I suppose it deserves its title as the strongest of the Biju. Baijidama. Kurama exclaimed as he charged up another black chakra sphere and fired it, this time at the center of the artificial moon. The artificial moon exploded in a torrent of light as the Kyuubi fell to the ground and landed on its feet. It's over, the fox declared as he reeled his head back and started gathering more chakra, this time forming a black chakra ball twice the size of its own body. Oh shit, Gray cursed. That is a lot bigger than the last one. I doubt I can deflect one of that size, Nagato admitted. Senjutsu, Sanin Moto, whispered a fully healed Naruto Uzumaki as he stood with both eyes closed and orange circles around them. Is it done? Nagato inquired. Itachi nodded. I got this, Naruto said as he snapped his eyes open revealing two crimson orbs. The one he received from Kakashi was present in his left eye, however his right eye had a different pattern, namely because it was in the shape of a black shuriken over a red background. The two shifted and suddenly both patterns mixed together with the black shuriken overlapping Kakashi's pattern. The eternal Mangekyo Sharingan, Itachi declared upon seeing the merge. I had hoped that implanting Shursue's eye within Naruto might evolve Kakashi's eye into the eternal Mangekyo Sharingan, but even I was unsure of what could happen. Udama Baijidama. Kurama bellowed as he hurled the massive chakra ball at the group. Senpo, Kamui. Naruto exclaimed as space and time distorted. He felt his sage mode leave him and he dropped to one knee in exhaustion, however his effort proved to be enough to pull in the massive tailed beast ball and send it into another dimension. Why will you just not die? Kurama snarled angrily. Come on, Kyuubi, let's finish this, Naruto challenged as he pushed himself back to his feet. You heard him, a new male voice called out as a familiar whining sound echoed through the air. That voice, Kurama snapped his gaze skyward and his eyes widened. How? Cho Udama Rasengan, exclaimed Minato Namikaze as he descended upon the demon fox with a large spinning chakra sphere in his hand twice the size of his own body. Yondaime Hokage, the Kyuubi roared as he brought two of his tails up to deflect the attack. How are you here? Yondaime-sama? Naruto blinked in shock. Chikura Kusari, a new female voice called out this time as silver chains emerged from the ground around the Kyuubi and latched onto it, pinning it down. This chakra, Kushina. Kurama growled out as a chain wrapped around his neck and pulled him down to the ground. I originally left some of our chakra in seal just in case the Kyuubi was able to form 8 tails or for when you were going to try to tame it. Truthfully, I never wanted to see you again, Kyuubi, but I did want to see how our son had grown, so I guess you could call it even. Minato chuckled as he dropped down in front of the mages with a red-haired woman at his side. Yondaime-sama, Itachi bowed his head in respect. You'll have to forgive us for our surprise at your arrival here. You don't know the half of it, the red-headed woman laughed. Son? Naruto asked confused. Hey kiddo, Minato waved. How's this for a family reunion? Minato, the red-headed woman growled out as she elbowed the Yondaime Hokage in the ribs making him wince. It's good to see you again Kushina-sama, Itachi bowed in his head. Ida-chan? You've certainly grown, Kushina commented. Please don't call me that again, Itachi requested respectfully. Excuse me, but what the fuck? Naruto spoke up. Are you saying you knew they were my parents and never told me a damn thing? He glared at the Uchiha. You were not ready, Itachi reasoned. Bullshit, Naruto responded before turning on his father. And you? Why the fuck did you seal the fox into your own son for? Do you know how much trouble it's caused me? I don't know if I should be happy or pissed off right now. Naruto, a fully healed Urza whispered into his ear as she slid her arms around him from behind. Calm down, getting angry won't solve anything. Damn it, Naruto gritted out. A redhead, huh? Why am I not surprised? Minato sighed in both relief and knowing, since he too had married a redhead. What was that, dear? Kushina asked sweetly. Nothing, honey, Minato sweated. Good, Kushina smiled and started looking over her fellow redhead. Not bad. Lady Uzumaki? Urza inquired as Kushina pulled her into a hug, surprising her. She'd make the perfect daughter-in-law, Kushina commented. Mom! Stop that! Naruto yelled. You, damn you, Kushina! Kurama snarled as he strained to break free of the chakra chains. We'll talk about everything later, Kushina said, taking charge. For now, we need to deal with a certain bad fox. Good, because I feel like punching something, or someone, Naruto said and sent a glare at his father. Senjutsu, Sanin Moto, he felt his sage mode return as orange rings appeared around his eyes, his eye turned yellow and his pupils elongated horizontally. Ready, guys? Oh yeah, Natsu grinned as flames exploded from his form once more. Kanso, Muju no Yoroi, Urza whispered as her white armor materialized over her body with orange shoulder pads and orange skirt. Is everyone ready? Let's go, Naruto grinned as his hands settled into a familiar seal. So you want to play, do you? Fine, I'll take you all on. Kurama roared. Koshi no Ken. Urza exclaimed as she brought her two short swords together and released one large blast of energy at the demon fox. Shirato. Nagato was next with a blast of green chakra from his arm cannon. Metsuryu Oji, Shiranui Gata, Gyurenhu Ken. Natsu called out as the flaming yellow arrow that he was slammed into the side of the Kyuubi. Shikigami Daibakuha Rundan. Konan yelled as hundreds of explosive tags rained down on the roaring fox. Kori no Zokiai, Isugaiza. Gray slammed his hands onto the ground and spikes of ice shot out of the ground all around the demon fox. Regulusu Inpakudo. Loki exclaimed as he threw out a punch and the light that shot out took the shape of a lion that struck the Kyuubi across the side of the face. Now Naruto. Urza shouted as a familiar bell-like screech filled the air. Futon, Raisin Shuriken. Naruto called out as he hurled a white chakra shuriken down upon the Kyuubi's battered body. That's... Minato thought as he saw the attack strike the fox in the stomach and expand into a ball of destruction that almost completely covered its body. Tsukuyami, Itachi whispered as he jumped up and locked eyes with the demon fox. Hurry, Naruto. I do not know how long I can keep him locked in my genjutsu. I got it. Naruto yelled back as he jumped up and breathed. Here goes nothing, he thought as he saw the Kyuubi roar and drop down into his mouth. No! Kurama roared, but it was too late. His body seemed to retract and collapse in on itself until all that could be seen was a human-sized chakra fox with 9 crimson tails and covered in a white bone-like skeleton. Naruto's mindscape, Jinchuriki seal. I won't accept this. Kurama shouted as he shakily stood up, now nothing more than skin and bone. You've lost, Kyuubi, Naruto said clearly as the Kyuubi's chakra covered his body in a yellow-orange flame-like shroud. The image of his seal appeared over the shroud along with a connected 6 magatama around his neck, 2 whirlpool symbols on his shoulders and the key seal he gained earlier during his trip to Myobokuzen on the palm of his right hand. You, the Rikudo Sennin? Kurama yelled at the sight. It's over, Kyuubi, Naruto declared as he brought the key to the seal on his stomach. No! Kurama roared, but it was already too late. Naruto twisted the key and suddenly dozens of Tori appeared around them and quickly restrained the Kyuubi. They interlocked and formed a cage around the demon fox even as it roared in protest. Eventually a gate formed with a brand new seal overlaying it as everything inside the cage darkened where Kurama's crimson eyes could be seen glaring at him. I won't forget this, Naruto, Kurama growled. Maybe not, Naruto countered. But that doesn't mean I'll let you just fuck around with me anymore. You're still so weak, Kurama snarled. Without your friends, you're nothing. My friends are my power and I'm theirs, Naruto shot back. You shouldn't have underestimated them. I am nobody's pawn. Kurama roared again. No, you're not, but you're consumed with hatred and anger. I can sense it now, Naruto responded. I'm going to erase your hatred here and now. As you are now, you're just an angry monster that wants to be free and doesn't care who gets hurt because of it. I am not one of those little mortals who can be swayed by your actions and words, Kurama growled back. We'll see about that, Naruto countered as his new eternal Mangekyo Sharingan activated. Kodo Amatsukami. Earthland, Warth Woodlands. The human-sized 9-tailed chakra fox collapsed further until Naruto could be seen covered in the yellow chakra of the Kyuubi covered in the black seals of the Rikudo Sennin. He let out a breath he didn't know he'd been holding as the chakra left him completely and he collapsed forwards into Urza's waiting arms. So? Naruto winced. Is anyone up for some ramen? You reckless fool, Urza smiled as she hefted his arm over her shoulder. Don't scare me like that again. Sorry, Naruto sent her a pained smile. Let's head back, Urza spoke up taking charge. This has been a very long day. Chapter 19, The Tale of the Nine Tails. Earthland, Master Bob's Villa. The members of the Mage Alliance returned to the villa soon after as day turned to night. Urza had carried Naruto into one of the rooms designated for Fairy Tail and laid the exhausted Naruto down on one of the single beds. Everyone else had left to contact their own guilds, leaving only Naruto, Urza, Minato, Kushina, Nagato, Konan and Itachi in the room. Why don't you explain from the beginning? Urza inquired as she leaned against the closed door. I'll start, Kushina spoke up. It's best if I start from the beginning so you'll understand, she sighed and then continued. When the Shodai Hokage defeated Uchiha Madara at the Valley of the End, the Kyuubi was sealed within his wife, Uzumaki Mito. Mito-sama kept the Kyuubi locked away for years until I was brought to Konoha and the Kyuubi was transferred to me. You were Kyuubi's Jinchuriki before me? Naruto asked in surprise, though judging by the surprised looks on Nagato, Konan and Itachi's faces, they didn't know either. That explains why we had trouble finding it, Nagato mused. The average pregnancy for a female Jinchuriki is 10 months and during that time the mother's chakra is redirected from their seal to the baby. 16 years ago when I gave birth to Naruto, the seal was barely holding and it was only because of Minato-kun that it held together at all, Kushina continued. So because I was born the Kyuubi broke free and attacked Konoha? Naruto asked. No, that's not it, Kushina denied. The seal held, she explained. The reason that the Kyuubi was released was because a man wearing a mask infiltrated our hideaway and kidnapped me right after you were born. Madara Uchiha, Itachi grunted. I rescued Kushina but not before the Kyuubi was released by the man in the mask, Minato spoke up. By the time I had gotten Kushina to safety, that man had already summoned the Kyuubi to attack Konoha. I fought him and eventually drove him off, but by then the Kyuubi had destroyed half of the village. In the end I transported the Kyuubi to where you and Kushina were. I held it down as Minato-kun sealed it within you, Kushina smiled sadly. I sealed it within you because I thought that you could control it, Minato explained. I knew that Madara would probably return one day to take back the Kyuubi and I didn't want that to happen. I'm sorry, we made you into a Jinchuriki and left you alone with the hatred of Konoha, Kushina apologized. Damn, Naruto sighed and fell back onto the bed. So that's it, huh? That's what really happened. Who is this guy, anyway? You called him Madara Uchiha? He is the real leader of the Akatsuki, Itachi replied. He was Akatsuki's benefactor while I was in charge, Nagato explained. The Akatsuki were founded with peace in mind, however Madara seemed to be directing our movements and now that I think back, I believe he was manipulating us all along. Who is this Madara? Urza asked, having no idea who he was. A monster, Kushina replied fiercely. Madara Uchiha is the strongest Uchiha to ever live, Itachi explained. Like Naruto and I, he also had the eternal Mangekyo Sharingan and had the ability to control the Biju like pets. He was defeated by the Shodai Hokage and thought to have been killed, however it appears he found some way to survive. Though admittedly his power has diminished, probably from wounds inflicted upon him by the Shodai Hokage. I agree, Minato nodded. It seemed like he was wounded, however even without the Sharingan's more advanced forms he was still able to fight me on relatively even terms. He is arguably the most powerful shinobi currently alive, Nagato added. Even in his weakened state he could kill me, however we have been observing him for years now and we believe we have discovered a weakness that we can exploit. We believe that he can only remain intangible for 5 minutes at a time and he can only transport himself while remaining tangible, Konan explained. I was able to land a hit on him when he tried to grab me, so the best time to attack him is when he attacks you at the same time, Minato added. He will be coming after you, Nagato spoke directly to Naruto. A man like that has a lot of contingency plans in case something fails, like my attempt to capture the Kyuubi. Great, Naruto sighed. So I've got an immortal masked madman who can control Biju coming after me, just fucking great. Language, young man, Kushina said as she sent him a look. We'll deal with Madara when the time comes, Nagato said clearly. There was something I always wanted to ask you if I ever met you, Naruto spoke up as he turned to his parents. How did you two fall in love? What's with that question, Databane? Kushina stammered in surprise. I'm not sure when it started, Minato replied suddenly sheepish. Well, Kushina started. When I first came to Konoha I was put in the same graduation class as your father and to be honest back then I thought he was just a pretty boy. Kushina. Minato sighed in defeat. Back then I was bullied a lot because the boys didn't like my red hair, so I beat them all up, Kushina explained with a wide smile. Scary, Naruto shivered. After we graduated and I became a genin, Kumo ninja attacked my home and kidnapped me. On the way to Kumo I kept plucking my hair out and dropping them on the ground hoping someone could find me and rescue me. I'd just about given up hope as we reached the border when this guy showed up and saved me, Kushina explained as she sent her husband a smile. You really did look so heroic in the moonlight. Thank you, Minato grinned back. I think that was when I fell in love with this fool, Kushina shrugged. That sounds familiar, Nagato muttered, causing Konan to send him a look. What do you mean? Naruto blinked in confusion, causing Urza to send him the same look. Wait. Minato stopped and looked between Nagato and Naruto. You two didn't happen to have saved the girls in this room solo from people intending to use them for some evil purposes, did you? Actually, now that you mention it, Naruto was the one who saved Urza from Jalal at the Tower of Heaven, Itachi answered. And I did save Konan from Hanzo, though admittedly I did suffer significant injury at the time, Nagato added. So what does that mean? Naruto asked. Have you not noticed the similarities between us, Naruto? Minato asked. When I became a Chunin, Jiraiya-sensei mentioned a prophecy to me but not to my teammates and spoke about obtaining true peace. A child of prophecy, Nagato spoke up. He mentioned it to me too but didn't say anything to Konan or Yahiko. He never mentioned anything about a prophecy to me, Naruto countered. But when I was on Myobokuzan, the Toad Elders told me about it. Ero Sennin was supposed to train a student who would bring about a great revolution and either lead the world to salvation of destruction. Jiraiya-sensei had 7 students, Minato mused. He only selected 3 as the possible savior of the world, and we're all in this room right now. If that's true, then which one of you is it? Urza asked the question. I failed to establish true peace, Nagato replied. My peace would have been achieved through mass destruction and fear. I'm already dead, Minato added. As soon as my chakra fades here, I will be gone forever. That just leaves? Kushina trailed off as she looked over at her son. Me, Naruto muttered. When I demanded Ero Sennin to train me 4 years ago, I didn't sign up for this gig. Unfortunately, it comes with the job, Nagato sighed. Our chakra is almost gone, Minato mused as he and Kushina started to fade. You're going? Naruto asked them. We'll always be with you, Kushina smiled back sadly. We love you, she whispered and then faded away completely. Goodbye Naruto, Minato spoke quietly. I'm sorry for everything, be strong, live your life the way you choose. He was gone a moment later. Damn it, Naruto muttered as he watched them disappear. So what happens now? We'll rest here for the night and set out for Kate Shelter in the morning. From there we will continue on towards Fairy Tail, Itachi spoke up. Earthland, Kate Shelter Guild. Ah, so cute, Lucy cooed as she examined her state of dress. She was wearing a rather exotic red dress courtesy of Kate Shelter and had her hair tied back. I assure you, mine is cuter, Sherry countered as she stood in front of the mirror wearing a similar dress. The entire village here is part of the guild, so the clothing production is a thriving business, Wendy explained. Is it some kind of Nervit traditional sewing? Lucy inquired. Now that I think about it, maybe it is, Wendy mused. You didn't realize that the guild was all descendants of the Nervit, did you? Sherry asked her. Well, I'm the only one who joined afterwards, Wendy responded. Urza, Konan-san, won't you try them on? They're really cute, Lucy asked them. Maybe later, Urza waved her off. Something doesn't feel right, does it? Konan asked from the side. No, Urza replied. But I can't put my finger on what exactly is wrong here. Wendy, Sherry started. When did Kate Shelter join the League of Guilds? I apologize for being blunt, but until this mission began, I had not even heard of your guild's name. Now that you mention it, neither have I, Lucy added. Is that so? Wendy asked, now depressed. My guild must really be one of the more obscure ones. Who cares? Carla spoke up. Everyone is waiting. She's right, Urza nodded. Let's go and meet up with the boys. Naruto-kun, there is something you should know concerning Madara, Itachi spoke as he, Nagato and Naruto walked through the center of the village. What is it? Naruto asked. I'm sure you've noticed, but travel between worlds is incredibly difficult, Itachi began. In fact, to my knowledge, only space-time ninjutsu is capable of such a thing. Yeah, Naruto nodded. So? For the past 2 months I have been searching for an answer as to why I am still alive and how I ended up here. I now know how and why, Itachi continued. Leader Sama, I remember you telling me that Madara used his space-time jutsu to send you and Konan here, correct? Yes, Nagato nodded slowly. Though, at the time he seemed somewhat unsure of himself. I believe it is because he was uncertain as to properly locate the world that Naruto had been transported to, Itachi spoke further. Naruto-kun, your jutsu, Kamui I believe it is called, do you know how it works? Mostly, Naruto replied. From I understand it transports whatever you wish into another dimension, Itachi said with a nod. Do you know where it sends them? I've sent a few clones through and had them send their memories back to me, Naruto nodded. It's a void. And yet when Kakashi and you were sucked into it during your battle with Kakuzu you ended up here, Itachi mused. I believe that your Kamui operates on similar principles to Madara's spacetime jutsu which allows him to cross dimensions. When Kakashi used it against Kakuzu he must have originally intended to counter Kakuzu's attack but as soon as he saw that you were being pulled in, he subconsciously redirected the exit of the dimensional tunnel to drop in Earthland. If I am correct then you should be able to select the exact place where you want something to be sent to using your own mind in a similar way. Okay. Naruto trailed off. But what does this have to do with you coming to Earthland? I believe I can answer that, Nagato spoke up. After your battle with Kakuzu a series of tears in the sky started to open up all over the ninja continent and started sucking whole villages up. This world's dimensional barrier seems to be weaker than others and so when Itachi was pulled into one of these tears he ended up here. The tears stopped a week before Conan and I came here. What caused the tears? Naruto asked. You did, Itachi deadpanned. It seems like you somehow brute forced your way through the dimensional barrier keeping Earthland separate from the elemental countries, Nagato explained. Thankfully they've repaired themselves so we don't have to worry about any more uninvited guests. Except Madara, Itachi countered. He still has the capability to come here. He won't, Nagato responded. At least not yet, he'll capture the Hachibi first before coming after the Kyuubi. We can talk about this later, Naruto spoke up. Let's go and meet up with the others. Fairy Tail, Blue Pegasus, Lamia Scale, also, Wendy and Carla, you have done well by defeating Oration Cease and stopping them from gaining access to Nirvana. As a representative for the local League of Guilds, I, Robal, say job well done, Robal declared. Thank you. It was our pleasure, Master Robal, Ichiya danced into view. The fight with Oration Cease was one fierce battle after the next, but in the end our bonds prevailed and led us to the path of victory. You said it, boss, the Tri-Men clapped. Men, Ichiya said with a sparking smile. I think I'm going to hurl, Naruto groaned. Just take all the good points for yourself, Gray spoke from the side. After all you got taken out before the battles even started. Did he fight anyone? Lucy muttered. It's finally over, Sherry sighed. You two did well, Jura said as he placed a hand on both Sherry and Lion's shoulders. Jura-san. Lion trailed off. You're supposed to throw a party now, right? Natsu cheered. Aye. Happy agreed. Ichiya. Ichiya-san. Ichiya. The Tri-Men chorused. We'll join you, Ichiya finished. We'll join you, the Tri-Men concluded as they started dancing. A party? Gray asked now suddenly dressed in nothing but his underwear. And off go the clothes. Lucy said with a reddening face. You too, she added upon seeing Lion also in a state of undress. Naruto, Itachi, Nagato spoke up. How do you deal with these people? I ask myself that same question every day, Naruto replied. I don't really know. Itachi grunted in agreement. Not even Deidara and Sasori were this bad, Conan commented. Now everyone from Kate Shelter, join in. Ichiya offered his hand. Though the members of Kate Shelter looked saddened, Natsu, Gray, Lucy and Happy started dancing also. Even Wendy and Naruto joined in however they quickly stopped when they realized that none of the Kate Shelter mages had joined in other than Wendy. Everyone, I am truly sorry about hiding our legacy as Nervit, Robal started. You ruined the mood to say that? Happy asked with a groan. We really don't mind at all, Natsu shrugged. Right? Right. Happy agreed. Master, I don't mind either, Wendy spoke up. Everyone, please listen carefully to what I am about to say, Robal continued. To start, we are not descendants of the Nervit, we are the Nervit themselves. 400 years ago, it was I who created Nirvana. What? Lion asked in surprise. No way, Lucy blinked. 400 years ago? Happy asked confused. Wait, so you're like super old? Naruto stammered. 400 years ago, in order to stop the war that was raging across the world, I created Nirvana. A magic that inverts light and darkness, Robal explained. Nirvana became our country and, for a time, we realized peace. However, great power will, without fail, give rise to a great power opposing it. As much as Nirvana changed darkness for light, Nirvana itself became wrapped in darkness. It was to maintain balance, it was impossible to change people's personalities to light without limit. As light rises to oppose the darkness lost from the various people came back upon us. Nerve it. No. Wendy said shakily. Another form of peace through sacrifice, Nagato mused. Did I do the same thing to the Kyuubi? Naruto thought as he remembered back to using that jutsu on his inner demon. He hadn't heard anything from Kurama since the battle, and that was worrying him since normally the fox wouldn't let him hear the end of it. It was hell, Robal continued. We killed each other, until no one was left. I am the only survivor. What? Naruto asked as Wendy took a step back in horror. Well, at this point that's not exactly right, Robal corrected. My physical body has long perished. I am what you might call a spectral form now, or rather a weak ghost trying to atone for his sins of the past. I've watched over Nirvana for 400 years until someone appeared who would be able to destroy it. He turned and looked down at Wendy. Out of all the mages in the world, it was a dragon slayer that appeared on my doorstep after 400 years of silence. And me? Wendy asked. My role is over, Robal nodded. I truly believe that you are the one destined to destroy Nirvana. What are you saying? Wendy demanded as her fists clenched at her side. I'm sorry that we old fools have to rely on the younger generation to clean up our mess, Robal apologized as one by one the mages of Kate Shelter disappeared. What is this? Wendy questioned. Everyone? All of you? Carla shouted. Magna. People. Wendy yelled as two more disappeared. What's going on here? Hibiki asked in surprise. They're all disappearing. They're illusions, Itachi answered. They were never really here. No. Everyone. Wendy cried. I don't want you to disappear. I apologize for deceiving you, Robal said sadly. All the members of this guild are illusions created by me. Say what? Natsu yelled. Illusions with their own personalities? Lion inquired incredulous. What incredible magic power, Jura commented. To be able to sustain them all and for so long. I lived alone in these ruins, protecting Nirvana, and then 7 years ago a single boy came here. He was carrying an unconscious Wendy in his arms and he begged me to take her in and look after her. I couldn't turn down the request of that boy and his fierce, honest eyes, Robal continued as the last of the Kate Shelter mages disappeared. Jalal? Wendy asked, causing the fairy tale mages in the group to all snap their heads towards her. Jalal? What does Jalal have to do with this? Urza thought. Even though I had promised myself I would stay alone, Robal explained. I took her in and when she woke up after the boy had left, she said that the boy was taking her to a guild. I then created the Kate Shelter Guild and so I also created an illusionary family. The guild was created all for Wendy? Lucy asked with wide eyes. I don't want to hear this. Wendy yelled. Bask, Naoki, don't disappear too. Wendy, Carla, you no longer need a foster family, Robal smiled sadly and pointed towards the rest of the Mage Alliance. Don't you have real friends now? He started to fade too. I leave Nirvana to you, your future has only just begun. Master. Wendy shouted as she rushed towards him. Everyone, truly, thank you, Robal bowed his head as he disappeared. I leave Wendy and Carla in your hands. Master. Wendy fell to her knees and cried to the heavens as her Kate Shelter stamp faded from her shoulder. They're gone, they're all gone, please come back. Please God, bring back my family. Why? Why does this have to happen? I never asked for any of this. Bring them back. Hey, a soft voice spoke up as a hand slid onto her shoulder. That old man may have had his problems and all, but he seemed to really care about you. He gave you a mission and entrusted you with the future. You shouldn't be sad that he's finally at peace, Naruto said with a small smile as Urza placed her hand on Wendy's other shoulder. Bury the pain of losing your loved ones into the arms of your friends, Urza told the young girl. Come with us, to Fairy Tale. What? Wendy asked as she turned towards the two. Yeah, Naruto nodded with a grin. I mean, do you really think we're just going to leave you here? The old man said to look after you, so let's go home to Fairy Tale. Thank you, Wendy cried as she rushed forward and hugged both Naruto and Urza. I know it hurts, Naruto whispered into her ear. But you'll push past this pain you feel, and as long as you look towards the future, there will always be a better tomorrow. They were all illusions, Wendy whimpered. They were real to you, Naruto responded. That's all that matters. Chapter 20, Homecoming. Earthland, wooden ship / near Harjin town. The members of the Fairy Tale had been forced to travel back to the mainland of Fiori using a regular wooden ship after the Mage Alliance had disbanded and went their separate ways. During this time Naruto had been running alongside the ship, throwing chakra arms out with the Kyuubi's chakra and trying to extend the range of his Rasengan variants. Itachi caught everyone's attention when, upon stepping onto the ship, he carried a large metal container in one of Susanu's hands. Urza merely raised an eyebrow as Itachi walked past her and placed the container in the cargo hold. Is that a coffin? Naruto asked upon seeing the metal container. I know you're a mass murderer and all, but don't you think it's a bit arrogant to order a coffin for your next target? It's not for you, Itachi responded. Was that a joke? Naruto deadpanned. Seriously, what is with the coffin? I will explain when we return to Fairy Tail, Itachi replied. Needless to say, Master Makarov will need to be informed of the contents of this container and more importantly, what to do with it. Something doesn't feel right about this, Urza thought as she looked over the container. Where did it come from? While Naruto-kun was recovering from the battle fought with Oration Cease and the Kyuubi, I returned to the battlefield in order to locate the hideout that the Oration Cease were using in the area. I found this within some old ruins deeper in the forest where the Oration Cease appeared to have set up, Itachi explained. As long as it's nothing dangerous, Urza conceded. Itachi grunted and turned away. When you see what is inside it, I wonder what you will describe as dangerous. Hey Itachi, Naruto spoke up. I've been meaning to ask you something for a while now. He pointed towards his now blue eyes. Ever since you gave me that second Sharingan, I've been able to turn them off, so I was wondering if they're like yours now. Not quite, Itachi responded. The eternal Mangekyo Sharingan is attained by transplanting the Sharingan of another Uchiha into a bearer of the Mangekyo Sharingan. Yours however appears to be the result of two different Mangekyo Sharingan being implanted and merging to form an eternal Mangekyo Sharingan which is different from any other Uchiha that I know of, myself included. Well, what about yours? Naruto asked. I attained mine when poorly Yusuke-san replicated a fresh pair of Mangekyo Sharingan for me, thus forcefully evolving my eyes to the next level, Itachi replied. So what other abilities did I get from this? Naruto questioned further. I mean the only jutsu I could do with the Mangekyo Sharingan before was Kamui and I even enhanced it with Senjutsu, but that was all I could do. The Mangekyo Sharingan I transferred to you used to belong to Uchiha Shisui, Itachi explained. He used to be my best friend, however, his Mangekyo Sharingan made him exceptionally powerful and because of that, certain elements within Konoha targeted him. But wasn't he a member of the village? Naruto asked confused. Shirsui's Sharingan had the ability to influence people, Itachi continued. When he attained the Mangekyo Sharingan he was able to use a jutsu called Kodo Amatsukami which could directly take control of a person's mind and make them do anything the user wanted. In order to acquire that kind of power, a man named Danzo sent his private army, Root, to hunt Shisui down and remove his eyes. Danzo. Naruto trailed off. By the time I reached Shisui, the battle was already over and Shisui had already lost one of his eyes. He gave the other to me and I never saw him again after that. A few days later both Konoha and the Uchiha clan listed his as deceased, though everyone assumed that I killed him. That I gave you is not merely for decoration, Itachi finished. When I transferred it to you, I left it specific instructions to forcefully remove the hatred from the Kyuubi's consciousness. I noticed, Naruto responded and thought back. I need to talk to him after we return to Fairy Tail. For now you should be concentrating on mastering those eyes you have been entrusted with, Itachi told him. When an Uchiha attains the Mangekyo Sharingan, they are able to use 3 separate jutsu of considerable power. Each eye has an individual power and together they are able to form Susanoo to increase their strength beyond what others might consider human. Madara Uchiha, in his prime upon obtaining the eternal Mangekyo Sharingan was able to use all 3 of his Mangekyo Sharingan abilities and the 2 abilities that the other eyes used as well as increase his power. But I only got 1 eye from 2 different people, Naruto countered. Doesn't that mean that I only have 3 abilities? That would be the case normally, however both Kakashi's and Shirsui's Mangekyo Sharingan seem to have merged together into both eyes. Because of this you may be able to use a second jutsu of with eyes, Itachi mused. With only 1 eye Kakashi couldn't have formed Susanoo or used the jutsu from the missing eye. Shisui on the other hand could use Kodo Amatsukami with both eyes, however it would take him quite a while to recover enough to use that jutsu again. I do not know what the true form of his Susanoo was since the only time I saw it was when he formed the ribcage around himself. How do I unlock these abilities? Naruto asked surprised. I mean the only reason I was able to master Kamui was because Kakashi-sensei told me how it worked when I was learning how to use wind chakra. And you said yourself that you were the one to set up Kodo Amatsukami on the furball. The same way Shisui and I did. By combat, Itachi replied. Shisui was able to awaken his Jujutsu abilities during the battle with Danzo's Root Umbu. I awakened mine when I massacred the Uchiha clan. All we need to do is have you fight someone strong. What's this I hear about a fight? Natsu spoke up, appearing from the side. Count me in. It seems you have your next opponent, Itachi mused. Alright Natsu, Naruto grinned. We've been putting this off long enough. As soon as we get back to the guild, you and I are going to fight. Yeah, Natsu cheered. I'm all revved up. Naruto's mindscape, Jinchuriki seal. Came back to the scene of the crime, have you? The Kyuubi growled out bitterly as he rested behind the cage doors. I came to talk, Naruto said softly. From what my mom told me, you've been sealed in one Uzumaki after another ever since Madara took control of you to fight the Shodai Hokage. Then Madara came back and ripped you out of my mother and took control of you again. That thing is not Madara, the Kyuubi sneered. It's an abomination that doesn't deserve to exist. What? Naruto asked confused. Don't expect me to give you all the answers, Naruto, the Kyuubi grunted. You may have removed my hatred from me with those eyes of yours, but I still can't stand you human leeches. It's always like this. You manipulate us, control us, use us when all we wanted was to be left alone and free to live our own lives. Don't expect me to give you all the answers, Naruto, the Kyuubi grunted. You may have removed my hatred from me with those eyes of yours, but I still can't stand you human leeches. It's always like this. You manipulate us, control us, use us when all we wanted was to be left alone and free to live our own lives. That's what you really think? Naruto whispered, but they both knew that the fox could hear him. You think we humans are just using you and the rest of the Biju for power and don't care about you at all. Madara took control of you and then both Mito-sama and Mom kept you locked up for nearly a century before you were sealed into me. You're angry that no matter what you do and no matter how hard you try, it's never going to be enough. What do you want from me, Naruto? The Kyuubi asked almost pleading. Power? Is that it? You've already taken my chakra core from me but it isn't enough, is it? Come on, furball, Naruto sighed and shook his head. You've been sealed in me my whole life and I know that you've watched me as I became the man I am today. I've used your power to fight my battles for me and I'll be honest and say it's the most terrifying thing I've ever felt. But, tell me, have you ever thought that the reason we keep sealing you is to keep you from being manipulated by others? What? The Kyuubi asked surprised. What are you talking about? Think about it, Naruto told him. The Hokages had to have known that you were being controlled by Madara, and he was a member of the Uchiha clan. Did you ever think that maybe the reason that you were sealed was to keep the Uchiha clan from using you again? That's... The Kyuubi paused as its eyes widened. That's impossible. That damned Shodai Hokage and Mito just wanted to lock me up like some prisoner because they didn't want someone with my power walking around free. Really? Naruto asked him. Think back to that night 16 years ago when you were ripped out of my mother's seal, you were manipulated and used to attack Konoha by Madara. Then my father sealed you in me to keep you out of Madara's grasp, he continued. You may not like me and you probably never will, but I will promise you here and now that I won't let Madara control you again. Naruto. The Kyuubi thought as he looked down at his blonde Jinchuriki. See later furball, Naruto waved as he turned and walked towards the exit. Kurama, the fox grunted. Huh? Naruto asked confused. My name is Kurama, the Kyuubi said clearly. Remember it. Sure thing, Kurama. Earthland, Magnolia/Fairy Tail. And so that's why we've invited Wendy and Carla to join Fairy Tail. Urza finished recounting the events that transpired over the course of the mission to the rest of the guild members sitting at their table staring at the blue-haired girl and white cat. It's a pleasure, Wendy bowed. So cute. There's a girl happy. How old are you, miss? Welcome back, everyone, Mira Jane greeted with a smile. Master, Urza stepped forward with a nod. Excellent work, Makarov responded. This area should be peaceful now, for a while. And of course, I bid Wendy and Carla a hearty welcome. Soon after Juvia burst into tears and nearly drowned everyone. Just another day in Fairy Tail. So this is a guild? Nagato said quietly. I can see why Naruto and Itachi call this place home. Nagato. Konan trailed off as she looked over at him. How do you do? I'm Mira Jane. Mira stepped forward and introduced herself to Wendy and Carla. Isn't it wonderful, Carla? Wendy squealed. This is the real Mira Jane-san. I bet that Carla is the same as happy, but what kind of magic do you use, Wendy? Mira inquired. What? You're lumping me in with the he-cat? Carla shot back in outrage. I use 10 no Metsuryu Meiho, Wendy replied cheerfully. I am the Sky Dragon Slayer. Silence descended on the room after her announcement. Maybe they don't believe me. A moment after the thought passed through her head everyone burst into cheers and started asking more questions, surprising her. Another Dragon Slayer has joined the guild, Naruto mused. That makes 3. So it would seem, Urza nodded in agreement. Today we're having a celebration. Makarov yelled as he stood up. A party to welcome Wendy and Carla. Live it up. Live it up. Oh yeah? Natsu roared as everyone, in every sense of the word, went nuts. I'm getting fired up. My clothes. Lucy screamed and covered herself with her arms after finding herself completely naked for no reason at all. That's the spirit, Lucy. Gray-sama, you didn't cheat or anything, did you? Juvia questioned. What's with her? Gray stammered in surprise. Carla, do you want some fish? Happy asked while offering a fresh fish. Absolutely not, Carla rejected with a shrug. Just another day in Fairy Tail, Naruto grinned. Is it always like this? Nagato asked. More often than not, Urza replied with a small smile. Master Makarov, Itachi spoke up directly to the guild master. Yes? Makarov asked. Is there something you need, Itachi? There is a matter that we need to discuss. What's this about, Itachi? Makarov questioned as they entered an enclosed room where the coffin had been placed. Itachi stood beside it and looked over the gathered group of Naruto, Urza, Nagato, Konan, Natsu, Happy, Lucy, Gray, Wendy and Carla. All will be explained now, Itachi spoke as he unclasped the chains keeping it sealed. Itachi. Naruto started. As I said before, I found him in the hideout used by the Orationsees, Itachi said clearly as he opened the container. That's. Lucy froze at the sight. How? Gray trailed off with wide eyes. Jalal. Wendy spoke in shock. Jalal? Natsu growled out with rising anger. No. Urza said as she clenched her fists at her side. After everything that happened at the Tower of Heaven, how did he end up in the arms of the Orationsees? I not know, Itachi answered truthfully. However, judging by his condition, he appears to be in a state similar to a coma. This was probably a result of being heavily exposed to Naruto's final attack back at the Tower of Heaven. Jalal, you mean that Jalal? Happy shouted out. You all know him? Wendy asked the group. Oh, we know him all right, Naruto nodded with a glare at the comatose man. He tried to kill Urza and manipulated the Magic Council into firing Eterian. Seagrain, Urza spoke up. That's the name of Jalal's brother, but it was found out that he was nothing more than a thought projection. Itachi grunted and turned to Wendy. Wendy-san's medical skills may be able to restore Jalal should we allow it. You can't be serious, Gray shot back. After all the trouble and pain this guy has caused, you want to bring him back? People can change, Nagato spoke up. Itachi, Konan and I are living proof of that. Yeah, but that's only because Naruto beat your delusions out of you, Gray responded. If I remember correctly, Naruto-kun did the same thing to Jalal at the Tower of Heaven, Itachi commented. Master? Urza asked. It's your decision, Makarov replied. Heal him, Naruto spoke up. Seriously? Gray asked. It's not like we haven't beaten him before, Naruto explained. And the last time he was being possessed by Zeref's ghost, so he might be sane now that it's no longer messing with him. I don't agree with this, Gray said clearly. What about you, Urza, Natsu, Lucy, Juvia? I don't like it but... Lucy trailed off and looked over at the silent Urza. I think everyone deserves a chance. Juvia agrees with you, Gray-sama, Juvia blushed. I say we heal him, Natsu spoke clearly, for once completely serious. We'll just beat him again if he goes crazy. Jalal, Wendy said tearfully as she took a step forward and looked up at the comatose man. What if he attacks someone the moment he awakens? Konan inquired. We will seal his magic core before Wendy heals him, Urza spoke up. We have to take into account all possibilities before we proceed. The best way to do that is to seal away his magic until such a time that we feel that we should release the seal. Agreed, Itachi nodded. What about the authorities? Gray asked them group. Let's not forget that this guy has committed quite a few crimes. We will take him, Nagato offered. We are not formally allied with Fairy Tail nor are we a guild, the new Magic Council has no authority over us. Very well, Makarov said from the back. If you have all decided, then I will trust your judgment on this matter. Thank you, Master, Urza bowed her head in thanks. We'll start tomorrow, Naruto sighed. I think we all need some sleep now that we're home. Chapter 21, New Beginnings. Earthland, Magnolia/Fairy Tail. Is everyone ready? Makarov asked. I've sealed his magic so he won't be able to use it if he goes crazy again, Naruto responded. Then let's do this, Urza nodded. Wendy-chan? Naruto asked. Right, the blue-haired girl nodded and stepped up to the restrained Jalal. Without a word her hands glowed blue as she brought them up and placed them on the comatose man's chest, causing his eyes to bolt open as he gasped for air. It's done, she said as she backed away and the chains that restrained him retracted, freeing him. Jalal? Urza asked. Urza. Jalal trailed off seemingly dazed. Do you know how you ended up in this coffin? Urza asked him. I don't know, Jalal replied softly. Urza, Za, that word is all I can remember. What? Urza asked in surprise. You've got to be kidding me, Natsu said with glare. Could you tell me, who am I? Jalal asked as he clutched his head in pain. Do you know who I am? He has lost his memory, Itachi mused. Who is this, Urza? I can't remember a thing, Jalal said with a wince. Jalal, Urza said drawing his attention as she took a step forward. Stay back. Jalal shouted and raised his hand to do a spell. However, his magic wouldn't respond even as she took another step forward. Don't come any closer. Then you will have to come to me, Urza responded. I am Urza, come here, she ordered. Your name is Jalal, you were my comrade long ago. But back then, you lost your mind. You disgraced the dead, hurt our comrades, destroyed the council, and in the end we were forced to nearly kill you. If you're going to say that you don't remember anything, I'll stab my sword through your heart and make you remember. Urza, calm down, Naruto whispered into her ear and he wrapped his arms around her. Come and stand in front of me, Urza spoke clearly. My comrades, how could I, what have I done? Jalal asked as tears started stream down the sides of his face. Is that Jalal? It's almost as if he's... Urza thought as she stared. Nirvana. Jalal said as he clutched head in his hands. I heard somebody's voice in my dreams telling me to get to Nirvana. I faintly remembered the magic and whereabouts. You know where Nirvana is? Wendy asked. It's a dangerous magic, Jalal said as his hands fell away. I can't hand it over to anyone, that's why I have to unseal it, so that I can destroy it. Did you just say that you'll destroy Nirvana? Gray asked surprised. The old man in Kate's shelter entrusted the task of destroying Nirvana to Wendy, Naruto spoke up. Sorry Jalal, but if anyone has the right to destroy that thing, it's her. You know where it is? Wendy asked. Yes I know, Jalal nodded. It's located in the Worth Woodlands. That explains why the Oration Sea set up shop there, Gray mused. They were probably searching for it when we showed up. They're gone now at least, Lucy said with a sigh of relief. I will destroy Nirvana, Wendy declared. That was the final wish of Master Rubal of Kate's shelter. If anyone is going to destroy Nirvana then it will be me. You? Jalal trailed off as he stared at the young Sky Dragon Slayer. Very well, I'll leave it to you, though I must ask, what is your name? My name is Wendy Marvel, the blue-haired girl replied. You don't remember me at all, do you? All I remember is the name, Urza, Jalal answered. I feel kindness from that name, I feel kindness, light, warmth, you may hate me in the future. It seems very likely to me that you will, however, hatred will take the freedom of the heart away and destroy you from the inside. He's right, Nagato nodded in agreement. I can't stand in front of you, Jalal spoke sadly. Please, kill me. What? Lucy stammered in surprise. Jalal. Urza trailed off. I'll take your hatred and sadness with me, Jalal continued. To hell with that. Naruto yelled as he appeared in front of Jalal. After everything that happened and everyone you hurt, there is no way we're just going to let you die without knowing what you did. Why you dash, Jalal stammered as he was pushed back against the wall and lifted up by the front of his shirt. Your death won't do anything for the people you've hurt, Naruto said with a glare. If you die now, you'll only make your victims feel a little better and that's all. Your duty is to live, Urza spoke clearly. Even if you're ugly or weak, fight for your life. But I dash, Jalal started. Nagato, Conan, Naruto said as he turned towards the two non-fairy tale members of the group. I trust that you'll be able to look after this guy? We will keep him out of trouble, Nagato nodded. You're going with them, Naruto said simply as he backed away. You can't stay with Fairy Tail but that doesn't mean you can't go with them. Why? Jalal asked. Why do you all go so far from me? Because we never give up, Urza was the one who answered. Because we will always be connected through our hopes and dreams. That's what it means to be a member of Fairy Tail, Naruto grinned. Live and see the future with your own eyes, Urza continued with a smile. We should leave by nightfall to avoid detection, Conan spoke up. Agreed, Nagato nodded. It might be best if he wore a mask too. You mean like Mystigan? Natsu added. Mystigan? Gray asked. As in the Mystigan? He looks just like Jalal, Itachi explained. When we saw his face during the battle with Laxus, he had the same face as Jalal. How is that possible? Lucy asked. You're in the same room with 4 ninja from another dimension, Conan responded. At what point do you believe something is impossible? Enough of that, Urza continued. Even now we have no clue who Mystigan really is, so until we do, it doesn't matter. Night should fall in an hour, Makarov spoke up. You will leave then, don't use the train or any kind of mage transportation. It's best if you proceed on foot until you are sure that the council won't be able to track you. Aye? Jalal sighed. Thank you. Earthland, Magnolia/Fairy Tale. When night had fallen, Jalal had left with Nagato and Conan without anyone in the guild or the rest of Magnolia noticing their departure or even their presence. Urza didn't like the idea of leaving him in the hands of others without any memory of who he was, but she knew that the best place for him at the moment was away from the guild and with Nagato and Conan. There was also her upcoming wedding to Naruto hanging over her head, and Lucy wouldn't stop dragging her around looking for the perfect dress, as she called it. A few days passed and, naturally, Fairy Tale was as wild as ever. Naruto, let's fight! Natsu shouted as he lunged right at the blonde Jinchuriki. Huh? Did you say something? Naruto asked from his seat on the counter as he brought his hand up and caught Natsu's punch. I want to fight you, Natsu grinned. Really? Naruto asked. You aren't going to say anything about the flames of youth, are you? The what? Natsu blinked in confusion. Never mind, Naruto shook his head and stood up. Alright, I'm up for a spar. Let's go outside. I don't think Urza-chan will be too happy with me if we fight in the guild. Right, Natsu nodded and dashed out of the main doors. Here is your Pocky Itachi-kun, Mira-Jane said as she placed the meal on the table that the Uchiha sat at. Thank you, Mira-san, Itachi nodded. Aren't you going to watch? Mira asked him. As soon as I'm finished, Itachi replied as he started eating. No one interrupts his Pocky time, not even Naruto. Well, maybe Mira. Naruto-kun has fully recovered from the battle with the Oration Cease and the Kyuubi. Maybe this will be what he needs to unlock his eternal Mangekyo Sharingan's new abilities. Alright, let's do this. Natsu grinned as the two stood on opposite ends of the street. A crowd had already gathered and surrounded them, including the members of Fairy Tale and even a weekly sorcerer reporter. I've been looking forward to this for a long time now. Alright then, Natsu, Naruto grinned back. Let's see what you've got. Karyu no Tekken. Natsu exclaimed as he lunged forward with his fist ablaze with crimson flames and crossed the distance between them in a matter of seconds. Rasengan. Naruto quickly countered with a spinning chakra ball that formed in his hand. The two attacks connected, and with an echoing bang the two were blown away from each other. He's faster than before, he thought as he skidded to a halt. Karyu no Kun. Natsu called out as he landed on his hands and flames exploded across the ground. The blaze consumed the street and seemed to stretch and approach where Naruto was standing. He's stronger too, Naruto added as he jumped up onto a nearby pole and looked down at the flame-covered street. Those watching were keeping well away, but if the flames weren't put out soon then someone might get hurt. I have to put out those flames. The moment the thought crossed his mind, his eternal Mangekyo Sharingan spun into existence. Amaterasu, he whispered as silver-colored flames exploded from his right eye and quickly consumed the street. Was that me? Silver flames? Itachi thought from the crowd. That's different, he mused as the silver flames snuffed out Natsu's red flames and then start to disappear. Thanks for the meal, Natsu grinned as he devoured the silver flames. Doragon Fosu, he called out as orange flames exploded from his body and his skin started to form scales. You've got to be kidding me, Naruto mumbled under his breath. How the hell can you eat that stuff? It's tasty. Natsu smiled back and disappeared in a burst of speed. He reappeared to Naruto's side and slammed his fist into the blonde's face, knocking him back. After another few blows it quickly became clear that Naruto just simply couldn't keep up with Natsu's new speed and was sent crashing back into the nearby wooden fence by a spinning kick. Had Naruto been in Sage mode he would have been able to counter, but sadly he wasn't. Without being in that form, the Sharingan's ability to predict its opponent's movements alone was useless if the opponent was so much faster. But then again he was unpredictable. Karyu no Hoko. Natsu exclaimed as he breathed out one massive blast of fire at the battered blonde. The flames engulfed Naruto's form and exploded, sending dust and smoke into the air. Are you not worried? Itachi asked as he appeared at Urza's side. Naruto and Natsu can handle themselves, Urza replied simply. That's... Itachi mused as the dust cleared. Naruto now stood in the center of the small crater created by Natsu's last attack, surrounded by a blue spiritual samurai-like figure that seemed to stand over his body, seemingly encasing him. In its right hand was a familiar double-sided sword that was long and smooth, shining brightly in the sun. And in its left hand were 6 small orange magatama floating around its fist. Is that? Gray started. Susanoo, Naruto declared as the spiritual samurai raised its head and 2 bright blue eyes glared right at Natsu. That sword? Itachi trailed off. That appears to be the Kusanagi no Tsurugi, he mused as his eyes narrowed. How is it possible for him to have that sword? I sealed it with Orochimaru during my fight with Sasuke, unless it was transferred to Naruto when I entrusted him with Shirsue's eye. What's the Kusanagi no Tsurugi? Gray asked. A weapon that is able to cut through anything, Itachi answered. Seriously? Lucy blinked. Naruto cried out to the heavens as his Susanoo brought its right hand up and slashed down with Kusanagi. The sharp blade extended as it descended, forcing Natsu to narrowly dodge the attack by jumping to the side. The blade was already retracting as Naruto narrowed his eyes into a glare and shot forward far faster than before. Susanoo's left fist struck down on Natsu, who brought up his hands to block the Spirit Samurai's punch. The ground cracked and Natsu was forced down onto one knee as he gritted his teeth, holding his opponent's fist back. Naruto's Susanoo is much smaller than mine, however its speed makes up for it, Itachi mused as he watched on. That speed he displayed was equal to his speed while using his Sage Mode. Should he ever combine it with his Senjutsu, or even better, the power of the Kyuubi, then he would be almost untouchable. Gyuren Bakuenjin! Natsu exclaimed as his arms ignited in flames and he pushed Naruto away before unleashing a spiraling blast of pure fire at the blonde. Damn, Naruto grunted as the flames pushed his Susanoo back. Alright then, let's try this, he yelled as he jumped into the air and started throwing his orange Magatama at Natsu faster than any kunai or shuriken he could ever throw. Yasaka Magatama. Now this is the fight I've been waiting for. Natsu shouted as he jumped back. The orange Magatama struck the ground where he stood only moments before and exploded in series of expanding fireballs, leaving craters in the street. His Yasaka Magatama explode upon contact? Itachi thought with narrowed eyes. Given their small size, I shouldn't be surprised that they would explode and cause damage equal to my own. Metsuryu Oji, Shiranui Gata, Gyuren Huken. Natsu roared as yellow flames covered him. He shot forward as the flames took the shape of a brilliant golden arrow that crossed the distance between them in a second. It looks like I have no choice, Naruto thought before drawing on Kurama's chakra. The yellow flame-like shroud of chakra formed over his body and he narrowly dodged to the side at the last second, letting Natsu literally fly right past him and crash down the street. It looks like I have no choice, Naruto thought before drawing on Kurama's chakra. The yellow flame-like shroud of chakra formed over his body and he narrowly dodged to the side at the last second, letting Natsu literally fly right past him and crash down the street. He's augmenting his Susanoo with the Kyuubi's controlled chakra, Itachi mused. His speed has increased even more. Man, you're fast, Natsu grinned as he stood up once more, still covered in flames. But you can't count me out yet. Actually I can, Naruto smiled back as the two locked eyes. Tsukuyami, he whispered and Natsu froze in place. What is this? I can't move, Natsu thought as Naruto released Susanoo and Kyuubi's chakra and ran right at him with a familiar chakra sphere in hand. Rasengan! Naruto exclaimed as he slammed the spiraling sphere into the pink-haired boy's chest. Natsu was blown back as the sphere exploded in a torrent of energy and blasted him back down the street, where he crashed down unconscious at Lucy's feet. I think he's out of it, Gray commented as he stared down at his beaten rival. Alright, I did it, Naruto grinned before he collapsed to one knee and groaned. Overdid it is more like it, Urza spoke up as she appeared from the crowd with a frown gracing her lips. Just what were you thinking, she demanded. Look, Urza-chan, it was just a friendly match. That's all, Naruto explained. Please don't kill me. You're coming with me right now, Urza said simply and grabbed his hand. She pulled him up and then towards the guild, making Naruto even more nervous. I'm sorry Urza-chan, Naruto apologized, however Urza just kept dragging him along. I almost feel sorry for the guy, Gray sighed. What about him? Loki asked as they looked down at the still unconscious Natsu. Itachi grunted before hefting the Fire Dragon Slayer onto his shoulder with one hand. Urza-chan, wait! Naruto yelled as she dragged him into her room and locked the door behind her. You don't need to be so rough, Databeo, he muttered as she let go of his hand, looked away from him. Is something wrong? The wedding, she said finally. We haven't set a date yet. Huh? Naruto blinked before scratching her back of his neck nervously. Oh right, he smiled. It's your choice. I was thinking, maybe, the 10th of October? Urza suggested. Your birthday. My? Naruto trailed off in surprise. Why? Honestly, his birthday had always been something that he hated, especially after he'd found out about his parents and how they died that day. His birthdays were always lonely things. Even when he was on his training trip with Jiraiya, the closest thing he'd ever gotten to a present was his second jumpsuit, and he only got that because his first one was destroyed when he first unleashed the fourth tail. He'd accepted long ago that his birthday was just another day to him. I can't think of a better day, Urza smiled though her face was now as red as her hair. I think of a better birthday present to you than to make you realize that you'll never be alone again. Urza-chan. Naruto whispered as she kissed him, and the two fell back onto her bed. Just another day in Fairy Tail. Chapter 22, Anima. Earthland, Magnolia/Fairy Tale. Damn Natsu, you're on fire today, Jet laughed as the pink-haired boy won another round. He was standing off to the side with Droy, looking on as the various mages of Fairy Tail sat at the new round table playing cards. Half the guild was playing at the moment and the other half was over at the jobs board. I don't know how he's doing it, Max grumbled. He was never any good at card games before. Yeah, Gray agreed. He must be cheating somehow. What was that? Natsu glared. Oh, here we go again, Urza sighed from the counter. If they start fighting again, you're going to clean it up, she said with a look at her fiancé who had his nose stuck in a familiar orange book. Huh, did you say something? Naruto blinked as he leaned against the counter and looked up at her. Never mind, Urza sighed again. There's trouble, a voice called from the entrance and was soon followed by the sound of bells. What's that sound? Lucy asked. It sounds like a bell, Wendy responded. The sound is amazing. Natsu grinned. Happy agreed. Does someone want to fill me in here? Naruto asked. One name, Urza said back. Gildarts. Right on, Elfman laughed. It couldn't be, Gray smirked. Gildarts has come back. Natsu cheered. Gildarts? Wendy asked. I've never had the chance to meet him, but he's supposed to be the strongest mage in Fairy Tail, Lucy replied. You're saying that this guy is stronger than me? Naruto blinked. That man? Assasite. He is not normal even by your standards, Naruto. Seriously? Naruto asked. His was the definition of abnormal, and she said that this guy was supposed to be worse? What the hell? He knew that he and Itachi could create unquenchable flames with a single glance, capable of burning down a whole forest, and Nagato could wipe out whole mountains with the wave of a hand, and don't even get me started on Kurama. If this guy turned out to be another super powerful enemy, he didn't know what he would do when faced with something worse than what he'd already faced. Let's hope that the guy is friendly. It's been 3 years since he was last here at the guild, Urza mused. We usually do S-rank and SS rank missions, however there are missions above that called 10-year missions, and then there's the 100-year mission. That last one is the one Gildarts left to complete. Why do they call it a 100-year mission? Naruto asked, curious. Because it said that no one can complete it in 100 years, Urza replied. Who the fuck is this guy? Naruto blinked. Magnolia is changing into a Gildarts shift, blared the city speakers, and the people scurried out of the streets and into their homes. All the townspeople, quickly get to your position. What's a Gildarts shift? Lucy asked when suddenly the whole town started moving. Buildings slid up and the streets parted to create a long trench from the edge of town all the way to the guild entrance. And no way. The town has been divided. Gildarts uses a magic that smashes through everything that he touches into pieces, so, when he's not being careful, he walks through the town crashing private houses, Mira explained. How could he be that stupid? Lucy yelled. That's why they reconstructed the whole town? You've got to be kidding me, Naruto muttered. What kind of messed up power is that? Here he is. Natsu shouted as a cloaked figure approached the entrance. It was a brown-haired man with a short beard and mustache, wearing a long black cloak that covered most of his form. Gildarts. Fight me. The first thing you say is that? Elfman asked. Welcome back, Mira smiled at the man. Miss, I'm sure that a guild called Fairy Tail was around here. Gildarts trailed off. That's right here, Mira nodded, still smiling. And I'm Mira Jane. Mira? Gildarts blinked. You look so different. Oh, so our guild has been renewed. This guy is the strongest mage in Fairy Tail? Naruto thought with a sweat drop. Gildarts. Natsu roared as he rushed forward. Oh Natsu, long time no see, Gildarts smiled as he turned towards the attacking fire dragon slayer. I said fight me. Natsu yelled as he lunged. Maybe next time, Gildarts shrugged as he batted Natsu straight up into the ceiling. You're strong, Natsu grinned even though he was still embedded in the ceiling. You haven't changed, old man, Gray commented. You're the real man, Elfman agreed. Well, there are some faces that I've never seen, and this place has changed a lot. It's a nice enough change, Gildarts mused as he looked over the mages present. Gildarts, Makarov spoke up from the counter. Oh, master, long time no see, Gildarts said cheerfully. How was the mission? Makarov asked in a serious tone, causing Gildarts to start laughing. Nope, I wasn't good enough to do it, Gildarts admitted, surprising everyone. What? It can't be. Even Gildarts failed that mission? What kind of mission was he doing? Naruto thought. A silence descended on the guild. I see. Makarou sighed. Even you couldn't do it. Sorry for leaving a stain on your name, Gildarts apologized. No, Makarov waved it off. It's good enough that you came back unharmed. As far as I know, you're the first person who came back from this mission. I'm going home, Gildarts spoke clearly. I need rest, man, I'm so tired. He turned to leave and looked up at Natsu, who was still stuck in the ceiling. Natsu, come to my place later, I've got something for you. Well then. I'll be off, and with that he walked through the wall and disappeared outside. Gildarts. Why don't you go through the door? One of the mages shouted after him, but he was already gone. So that's Gildarts, huh? Naruto mused. You're right, that guy isn't normal even by my standards. I fought him once to become an S-rank mage, Urza admitted. I lost, badly. It's not my proudest moment, but he passed me anyway. He said I knew what the limit of my strength was and that I knew when to back down. He doesn't seem like the guy to give up, Naruto commented. He isn't, Urza nodded. But that doesn't mean he won't let others put themselves in danger if he can help it. She stopped and turned towards him. Speaking of people putting themselves in danger, where is Itachi? I don't know, Naruto shrugged. He keeps disappearing all of the time. I think he's doing something for the old man, but I really don't know what guy does most of the time. I thought he was helping you figure out why your Amaterasu creates silver flames instead of black ones like his own. Urza asked concerned. Last I heard he seemed to think I've got more yang chakra in me than yin chakra, so I keep merging that into it, Naruto shrugged. Itachi merges his yang chakra with his katan to create his Amaterasu, which he named Enten. I don't know what to call mine yet since I basically created a new element by accident. Earthland, Magnolia/downtown. The town had returned to normal the next day, though the streets were empty. It was raining heavily and the clouds above were a dull gray. It was a bad omen. Something was coming and no one noticed because they sat happily in their homes, laughing and cheering like any other day. No one knew what was about to happen, all except one, that is. I finally found you, Carla. A soaked Wendy breathed a sigh of relief when she spotted the white cat. There had been a confrontation between Carla and Happy earlier that day, and Wendy had gone out to search for her missing partner. Wendy, Carla spoke clearly. You'll catch a cold if you don't use an umbrella. You too, Carla, Wendy said back. Carla, we just joined the guild, so I think you should try and get along with everyone. That isn't necessary, Carla responded as she turned away. As long as you're here, everything's fine to me. Oh come on, Wendy pouted. That's all you ever say. Footsteps caught their attention and they turned to see a single cloaked figure walking down the empty street with a number of staffs on his back. He stopped in front of them and simply stared at the two. Who are you? Carla asked the question. Wendy, the figure spoke clearly and started to remove his face mask. That voice? Wendy's eyes widened. To think you'd come to this guild? The figure mused as he completely removed his mask, showing his face, the tattoo across his right eye and his blue hair. Jalal? Wendy exclaimed in surprise. What is the meaning of this? Carla demanded. You are supposed to be with those two in the black cloaks with the red cloud design. That was someone else, not me, the man explained. What? Wendy asked in confusion. But you look just like him, Carla reasoned. I am Mystigan of Fairy Tale, Mystigan declared simply. 7 years ago, I, knowing little of this world, allowed myself to be known as Jalal. Do you mean? Wendy stammered. You're the Jalal from 7 years ago. I've been waiting so long to see you again. I'm sorry I couldn't have come sooner, Mystigan apologized. However, this is not the time for rejoicing. His words surprised the two. We must leave this town at once, he rasped before falling to one knee. Jalal! Wendy yelled in worry. I failed my mission, Mystigan gritted out. The anima has grown too large, and can no longer be suppressed by my power alone, he said as the clouds above the city started to spiral. Magnolia will soon disappear. What do you mean? Wendy asked in shock. I don't understand. It's going to end, Mystigan breathed. This disappearance is already a decided factor. At the very least, I'd like to spare you. What about Fairy Tale? Wendy shouted at him. What about everyone at the guild? It means? Mystigan answered. They'll all die. So that's how it is, a new voice spoke up from the side as a shadow moved out of the nearby darkened alley. What is this anima that you speak of? Questioned Itachi. Itachi? Wendy trailed off. So you're the one who has been following me these past few days, Mystigan sighed. The anima is a machine in another world that is similar to this one. The machine takes the magic power of a world and turns it into a lacrima crystal to be used by the kingdom of Idalos. How do we stop it? Itachi inquired further. It's too late, Mystigan replied. No. Wendy cried as she turned and started running in the direction of the guild. Where are you going? Mystigan called after her. To warn everyone. Wendy yelled back over her shoulder as she ran. The anima is. Mystigan trailed off as he looked up and saw a light shine down from the center of the spiraling clouds. This is just like back then. Itachi thought as he too looked up at the distortion in time and space. The ground rumbled as the chunks of rock and stone started to be pulled up into the vortex. Lightning flashed down from the center of the spiral as the buildings started to glow and disappear. Their particles seemed to be sucked up into the vortex in a stream of light until a single bolt of lightning struck down. A tornado formed and what was left of the town apart, pulling it up into center of the vortex in a column of light. Soon the light died down and the storm settled, though the spiraling clouds remained, leaving a large crater where Magnolia Town once stood. It was over. Chapter 23, Wrath of the Maelstrom. Naruto's Mindscape, Jinchuriki Seal. Oh man, Naruto groaned as he rolled over on the water-covered floor of the dark void. What the hell just happened? He blinked as he pushed himself up onto his hands and knees. Congratulations, brat, Kurama chuckled darkly from behind his cage. You've really outdone yourself this time. What are you talking about? Naruto asked as he turned his head to look up at the demon fox. As if being sucked into an interdimensional portal once wasn't enough, you have to do it again, Kurama openly laughed now. Even I didn't think your luck was that bad. What the hell is going on? Naruto demanded. You know that Kemui of yours? Something similar to that sucked up the whole city you were living in and converted it into one of those energy crystals like the one you sealed within yourself to absorb your sage chakra. We've ended up in another world again, and this time whoever did it turned us into one of those crystals. Funny, isn't it? The Kyuubi asked with a grin. Fucking hilarious, Naruto shot back. What about my friends and the rest of the people in Magnolia? They were turned to crystal too, Kurama shrugged. Fortunately for us, my chakra seems to be changing our crystal back into us, though. If you want to save your friends, then you might want to smash the crystal that your friends turned into. Why are you helping me? Naruto asked, confused. Why now? Don't think about it too much, you might hurt yourself, Kurama sneered at him. The humans in this world just tried to use me as a power source. I refuse to let them get away with that. Alright then, Naruto grinned and stood up. That's good enough for me, let's go, Kurama. Edulas, Royal City. Idalos was a world that had lost half of its magic many years ago thanks to an incident involving the Dorma Anim, a monstrous machine that required an inhuman amount of power to operate. Because of this, the reigning king at the time by the name of Faust conquered all the foreign lands of Idalos and then decided to gather more magic from other worlds to replace that which was lost using a device called the Anima. The kingdom of Idalos was ruled from the royal city, a majestic city built on a circular plain almost directly below the kingdom of Extalia, a floating island governed by the Exceed. The latest harvest of magic acquired by the Anima was far more than any previously documented, since there were 2 lacrima crystals that had been formed, one blue and one red. Both of which were the size of Extalia itself. Those 2 had been placed on 2 nearby uninhabited floating islands, and a small piece of the blue one had been placed right in the center of the royal city's plaza. Have you seen that, Urza? Those 2 lacrima are huge, spoke Hughes, the Magic Militia 3rd Division commander of the Idalos Royal Army. I saw them when I arrived, Hughes. A beautiful thing indeed, said Urza Nightwalker with a smirk. She was known as Urza the Fairy Hunter for hunting down and killing half the members of the Dark Guild, Fairy Tail. She was the captain of the 2nd Magic War Division of the Idalos Royal Army and was considered by many to be the strongest woman in the world. That's the magical power of tens of thousands of humans from Earthland, you know, Hughes said cheerfully. To be more precise, it is the magical power of approximately 200, and the lives of countless people, a blonde man by the name of Superboy added. He was the captain of the 4th Magic Division of the Idalos Royal Army. Do we have to sweat the details, Sugar Boy? Hughes waved off his words. All I'm trying to say is, this is amazing. You get it? I'm not just talking about your average amazing. I'm talking super amazing. Super amazing, Sugar Boy smirked. Urza-san, spoke a short old man from behind them. Have you still not succeeded in eliminating Fairy Tail? Biro, Nightwalker sighed as she turned towards him. And to think they call you the Fairy Hunter, the chief of staff, Biro chuckled amused. Fairy Tail is the only guild remaining to be eliminated. They certainly are adept at running away, but I feel His Majesty would like to see some results sooner rather than later. Do not fret, Sugar Boy spoke up. The day when this goddess will rid us of those fairy pests is soon at hand. That's right, Hughes agreed enthusiastically. Urza's sword skills are amazing, so amazing. And Shushushu, Biro chuckled in amusement. Enough of that ghastly laughter, Byro, interrupted a tall Exceed with dark fur and wearing armor. Panther Lily, Nightwalker greeted with a nod. I don't appreciate people making excessive noise, Lily said clearly. He was Magic Militia's 1st Division commander of the Idalos Royal Army and the only Exceed in the direct service of the Kingdom of Idalos. Hughes, that goes for you too. What do you mean me too? Why you, do you think you're the most amazing guy here or something, huh? Hughes shot back incensed. Try closing your mouth for a change, Lily grunted and turned away. You seem to be in a nasty mood, Lily, Sugarboy commented as the tall dark Exceed walked off. He isn't too pleased about the arms race we have got ourselves into, Nightwalker reasoned. Surely that should be a happy development for a military man, Sugarboy responded. Still, considering our country has united almost the entire world, it is true enough that there would appear to be little need for further arms development, Nightwalker explained. There are still a few rebellious factions out there, are they not? Sugarboy inquired. But we are quite capable of handling those ourselves, surely? Nightwalker sneered at the concept that their remaining enemies were even a challenge. What the heck? Where did this amazingly complicated discussion come from? I don't get it. Hughes yelled in frustration. Suddenly the sound of an echoing boom filled the air and everyone snapped their gaze towards the lacrima crystals. What the hell was that? He asked in surprise only for his eyes to widen when he saw the red lacrima crystal start to crack. That's not possible, Byro commented in alarm. Why is it cracking? Nightwalker questioned. I don't know, Byro replied now deeply concerned. Idalos, floating island/red lacrima. The soldiers guarding the large crimson lacrima were now running around in a panic as the crystal started to crack and break apart. Its color changed from red to yellow then to blue before it shattered and dissolved, revealing a single figure standing in the center of the massive crater left by the lacrima. Naruto yawned into his hand as he felt the last of his tiredness leave him and turned his gaze on the large number of soldiers surrounding him. Stop right there, one of the soldiers yelled as he charged forward with a spear in his hands. You're under arrest. Why can't I draw in any Sage Chakra? Naruto thought, confused before activating his Sharingan and effortlessly evading the Saldus attack. He backhanded the idiot away before the others charged as one. I thought that was obvious, Kurama scoffed from the back of his mind. This world seems to have only half of its own power and it seems to be quickly running out, that's why these fools tried to capture me in the first place. Well then, let's see if I can even the odds, Naruto said as he formed a familiar hand seal. Tajukage Bunshin no Jutsu, 50 shadow clones appeared around him and moved to intercept the attacking soldiers. Is this magic? One of the soldiers yelled in surprise before a fist struck him across the jaw. Charge, the clone army shouted as one and lunged at the Idalos soldiers. The fighting was short and brutal as the clones swarmed over the surprised soldiers in a sea of red. These grunts are seriously not worth my time. Basuda Mamu, a deep voice called out as shadow appeared above the blonde. Ha! Naruto snapped his gaze up towards the source of the voice and his eyes widened at the sight. A black humanoid cat was descending towards him swinging a long brown blade with a silver lining down at him. Okay, this guy isn't human, the blonde thought as the blade struck down, sending smoke and dust into the air as he jumped back. You evaded my surprise attack, Lily commented as he landed in front of the blonde along with the other division captains minus a certain redhead. Maso, Ten Commandamentsu, a familiar female voice spoke up as a red blur dropped down behind the blonde Jinchuriki. Naruto turned quickly as the Kusanagi no Tsurugi slithered into his hands and he blocked the downward slash from his attacker's spear and held it in place. Urza? Naruto blinked upon seeing the face of his girlfriend. Ha 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 ha, oh this is too much, Kurama laughed from the back of his mind. Of all the people to be on the enemy's side, this world's native version of your mate is the one to challenge you. You've got to be kidding me, Naruto gritted as his Sharingan spun. Who are you? Nightwalker sneered as she pushed down on her spear intending on cutting this man in two. My name is Naruto Uzumaki, the blonde grinned at her. The fiancé of Urza Scarlet and the last child of prophecy. Urza Scarlet? Nightwalker's eyes widened slightly at the name before he scowled. I am Urza Nightwalker, captain of the Idalos Royal Army 2nd War Division and the strongest woman of this world. You know that you do look like her a lot, Naruto commented. I'd almost think that you two were sisters. Are you mocking me? Nightwalker asked in disgust. Lady, of course I mock you, Naruto shot back before two shadow clones exploded from the ground beside them and lunged at Nightwalker. What kind of magic is this? Nightwalker thought as she pulled back and swatted the attacking clones away. Urza! Are you alright? Hughes yelled over to her. I'm fine, Nightwalker shouted back and glared at the blonde in front of her. You know, I'm glad my Urza doesn't glare at me like that, Naruto thought and shivered when he saw the look. It's your fault for proposing to a redhead like that accursed father of yours did, Kurama pointed out. Maybe it's in my blood, Naruto sighed. Alright, enough playing around, it's time I got serious. Urza is the real threat here, so I need to deal with her supporters first. He turned towards the other division captains as his eyes shifted into the eternal Mangekyo Sharingan. Tsukuyami, he whispered as he made eye contact with Hughes. Tajukage Bunshin no Jutsu, another 50 shadow clones exploded into existence around him and charged at the division captains. Hughes, what's wrong? Sugar Boy asked as he readied his sword. Hughes, he asked again, but there was no response. Hughes was just frozen in place. What happened to him? He gritted out as he swung with his sword and sliced through one of the attacking clones. Stop them! Lily shouted as he cut through another 3 clones. Hughes, he yelled as a single clone slipped past him and lunged at the motionless Hughes. Rasengan, the clone exclaimed as he slammed a spinning blue chakra ball into Hughes' stomach and sent him hurtling off of the side of the floating island. You! Nightwalker muttered in anger, and her spear transformed into another in a flash of light. Onsaku no Yari, Shirafarian, a second later she disappeared in a burst of speed. She's got some pretty decent speed, about the same as Urza's flight armor, Naruto thought as he quickly drew on the Kyuubi's chakra sealed within him. The yellow shroud formed over him with the familiar seal matrix and he narrowly evaded the first strike. What is that magic? Nightwalker thought as she disappeared in a burst of speed again. She's fast, Naruto thought as the two clashed again and again at speeds far greater than should be humanly possible. I didn't think anyone could keep up with me when I'm in this form, he mused. I'm not just anyone, Nightwalker responded as the two broke apart. I am Urza the fairy hunter. Urza! Let me aid you! Sugar Boy yelled as he slid across the ground on his chest and then jumped to his feet with his sword ready. Kamui, Naruto whispered, and suddenly Sugar Boy's sword was pulled into a swirling vortex of time and space. Was that the anima? Nightwalker asked in alarm. Impossible, Bairo spoke from the edge of the battlefield. The anima is an artificial construct, not a magic ability. Is that what you used to bring me to this world? Naruto asked but already knew the answer. To hell with it, I'll worry about getting back home later, for now I still have to beat you all and save my friends. What makes you think you can do that? Sugar Boy asked amused. Karyu no Tekken, a familiar flaming fist descended from the heavens and pummeled Sugar Boy into the ground in a column of fire. Natsu? Naruto blinked as he saw the Fire Dragon Slayer stand. Sorry we're late. Wendy smiled widely as she and Lucy dropped down beside him. But we kind of got lost on the road of life. You've been spending way too much time with Naruto, Lucy sighed. You won't believe what we've seen and where we've been. I've been fighting Urza's evil twin since I woke up, Naruto responded. I don't think anything could surprise me right now. We've been to this world's version of fairy tale, Carla spoke up. Say what? Naruto blinked. Exceed? I see, Nightwalker said with narrowed eyes. So if you're with them, then you both must be the ones that have completed the mission from 6 years ago. Mission? Happy asked. It's alright, Carla waved it off. I'll explain it later after I've confronted the Queen of Extalia directly. How are you all not a Lacrima Crystal? Naruto asked. I'm a Dragon Slayers, Natsu replied with a shrug. Lucy had one of her summons save her. And we're Exceed, Happy added. So can your magic return everyone back to normal? Naruto asked. I mean, if it didn't work on your magic, maybe your magic will be able to reverse whatever they did to turn our friends into that big Lacrima crystal over there. That could be possible, Carla mused. Really? Lucy asked. It was something I had not considered, Carla reasoned. I can handle things here, Naruto told them. You all head over to that crystal and free everyone. Alright, Natsu nodded. Good luck. He and the others jumped away towards the nearby floating island with the massive blue Lacrima. As if we'd let you, Nightwalker sneered. I will deal with them, Lily declared and rushed after the fleeing fairy tale mages. You dare to interfere in our plans? Bairo sneered as he downed some kind of potion. You'll pay with your life. His body suddenly expanded and took on the shape of a massive purple octopus. Die, he shouted as he sent his tentacles at the blonde. Amaterasu, Naruto whispered as silver flames exploded from his eyes and engulfed the octopus. Bairo screamed as the flames ravaged his body and burned it into dust in a matter of seconds, leaving his unconscious form lying motionless on the ground. And then there was one, spoke the blonde Jinchuriki as he turned his gaze on the redhead. Is this Earthland magic? No. It feels different. I can't afford to hold anything back if I'm going to win this, Nightwalker thought as her spear began to glow. Shinku no Yari, Meru Fosu, she exclaimed as the head of her spear changed to a light blue spearhead with the edges on the side curving inwards close to where the spearhead is mounted, and a glowing orb connecting to the shaft. The spearhead glowed bright blue and a tornado-like pulse of vacuum exploded from the tip. Damn, she's really making me work for it, Naruto mused as the attack washed over him. It was going to be a long day. Edulas, Royal City Royal Palace. Katan, Gukakyu no Jutsu. Itachi bellowed as he expelled down the corridor at the approaching guardsmen. Kori no Zokiai Meiho, Isa Kaianon. Gray exclaimed as he created a large ice cannon in his arms and fired a blast of ice down the corridor. Are you sure it's down here? He asked the Uchiha. If it isn't, then it only means that Mystigan chose the correct path, Itachi replied seemingly unconcerned. The anima could only be hidden in one of the two locations near the dimensional cracks. Focus you two, Urza Scarlet ordered as her body glowed. Kanso, Tenrin no Yoroi, she whispered as her Heaven's Wheel armor formed over her body. Tenrin, Sakuran Soto, she exclaimed as her sword spun around her and then lashed out at the dozens of Idala soldiers in their path. I still think we should have brought Gajeel with us just in case we run into any lacrima they have in here, Gray spoke up. I mean, I don't like the idea of these people turning others into those things just for a little bit of magic. You should consider yourself lucky that Gajeel broke you and Urza out of the lacrima in the plaza, Itachi remarked smoothly. Yeah, well. Gray trailed off and shook his head. From what Mystigan told me, only a dragon slayer can return people to normal after they've been transformed into lacrima. That lacrima floating above the city seems to be the largest and as such it most likely contains the entire population of Magnolia Town. That is why we sent Gajeel after it, Itachi explained. Though it may sound unpleasant, the needs of the many far outweigh the needs of the few. If Gajeel had come with us in search of the anima machine, he would have been able to return any lacrima we come across back into human form. However, we would be sacrificing far more lives if we didn't send him to deal with the Magnolia lacrima. It's still not right, Gray gritted out. It's an unpleasant truth, Itachi reasoned. Not everyone can be saved. We can damn well try. Urza was the one who spoke up this time. If we can't save one life, then we can't save any. Perhaps, Itachi conceded. The main chamber should be up ahead. No one said anything as they passed through the large stone doors at the end of the corridor and stepped onto a catwalk that stretched all the way to the center of a large oval-shaped chamber. Gray quickly closed the door behind them as Urza and Itachi walked to the edge of the catwalk and looked down into the void below. It's not here, Urza said clearly as she stepped away from the edge and turned. So it would seem, Itachi nodded. It appears Mystigan's group is following the correct path. Damn, Gray grunted. So we came all this way for nothing? Not quite, Itachi countered. Now we know that Mystigan will be dealing with the anima. That leaves us free to regroup with the others. Agreed, Urza nodded. Let's get out of here. Chapter 24, Sins of the Mother. Idalos, Floating Island/Blue Lacrima. Basuda Mamu. Panther Lily exclaimed as jumped up and his large sword appeared in his hands. He just won't leave us alone. Lucy yelled as the fairy tale members present scattered to evade the massive blade. I am the captain of the Royal Army's 1st Magic War Division, Panther Lily declared as he hovered in the air with 2 white wings sticking out from his back. This lacrima is the most important piece of our current plans. I won't let you have it. Karyu no Hoko. Natsu bellowed as he a massive blast of fire right at the overgrown Exceed. I will not allow you to interfere. Lily roared as he evaded the flames and dived right at the fairy tale mages. Tetsuryukin, called out Gajeel Red Fox as he appeared behind Panther Lily with his right arm having now taken the shape of a chain sword. Come here, he laughed as he swiped at the Dark Exceed who narrowly evaded the strike. Gajeel. Wendy sighed in relief as the Iron Dragon Slayer landed beside them. I'll handle this guy, Gajeel told them. You all better hurry up and save everyone. You? Natsu trailed off. What's with that face? Gajeel asked mockingly. Get going already, I'll deal with this guy. Good luck, Natsu said finally before dashing towards the huge lacrima at the center of the floating island with Wendy, Lucy, Carla and Happy following close behind. I won't let you escape. Panther Lily roared as he shot after them. You're fighting me now, Gajeel grinned as he appeared in front of the Dark Exceed. I'm going to make you my cat. Wendy, Happy, I think we should go to Extalia, Carla spoke up as they approached the large blue lacrima. Why? Wendy asked. We need to confront the god of this world, Carla replied. The Queen of the Exceed sent Happy and I to Earthland in order to kill the Dragon Slayers, but I don't want to follow that order. You were sent to Earthland to kill us? Wendy asked surprised. Yes, Carla answered sadly. While Happy doesn't seem to have any memories regarding our mission, I do, but I refuse to follow those orders. So we really are from Idalas? Happy asked and Carla nodded in reply. We're mages of fairy tale, it doesn't matter if what they sent us to do. We make our own choices, he said with a wide smile. Happy? Carla trailed off. Let's go, Happy grinned. If you're sure, Natsu spoke up. Be safe, he said and the three nodded before Carla grabbed Wendy by the shoulders and shot up into the sky with Happy not far behind. I hope they'll be all right, Lucy said worriedly. They'll be fine, Natsu reassured. Let's worry about this Lacrima before anyone else shows up to stop us. Idalas, floating island/red Lacrima, destroyed. What's the matter? Naruto asked as the two broke apart. His Kusanagi no Tsurugi spun in his hand as he disappeared in a flash of yellow light from his chakra shroud. Can't keep up? Silence! Nightwalker shouted back as she blurred out of existence. A loud clang echoed across the battlefield as the clashed again and broke away. You have no right to speak to me, she yelled as she jumped up into the air and her spear started to glow again. Bakuhatsu no Yari, Ikusupirojan, the spearhead suddenly took the shape of a triangular blade and glowed an angry red. That doesn't look friendly, Naruto thought as Nightwalker swung down. Susanoo, he whispered as the tip of the spear seemed to explode and washed over with a deafening roar. I know I hit you that time, Nightwalker smiled cruelly as she landed a few feet away from the smoke. You're joking, right? Naruto's voice spoke from the smoke as it cleared. The blonde Jinchuriki stood seemingly unharmed with an ethereal samurai-like figure encasing his form. The Kusanagi was now in its right hand while 6 small orange Magatama floated around its left hand. Since he had first awakened his Susanoo and gained the Kusanagi, Naruto had been learning how to wield a sword from Urza, his Urza anyway, and to a lesser extent Itachi. With his Sharingan's ability to copy and extensive use of his shadow clones, he was able to quickly master his Kenjutsu enough to effectively wield the Kusanagi in battle. However, everything was not perfect and while using the sword may have granted him both extended reach and the ability to cut through everything it touched, it also stopped him from forming hand seals which limited his jutsu use. Thankfully whenever he formed Susanoo the Kusanagi would immediately go to its right hand allowing him to form hand seals with his own hands. It had taken him a while to learn how to use 4 arms at once but thankfully Itachi had taken to training him on how to use it. Most days whenever Itachi was in town, he and Naruto would often spar with just their Susanoo and Jutsu just so he could get a feel for fighting with multiple arms and hands. Kurama's chakra also helped him learn to use more than 2 hands since he could use it to create chakra arms with a mere thought now. It still felt weird though. What is that? Nightwalker asked in surprise. This is my Susanoo, I suppose you could call it the real me, Naruto shrugged and formed a hand seal. Just what are you? Nightwalker questioned. Is this Earthland magic? No it isn't, Naruto answered honestly. I was not born on Earthland, I just ended up there after leaving my old world behind. I see, Nightwalker mused. That explains it then, she said with a nod. I had wondered why I've never seen you here in Idalas but it would appear that there is no version of you here in this world. Earthland doesn't have a version of me either, Naruto shrugged. I figured that your 2 worlds are like sisters. This form that you have taken will not save you from me, Nightwalker sneered. Let's dance, Naruto grinned as his Magatama shot towards his opponent. Yasaka Magatama. What is he? Nightwalker thought as she backflipped away. The Magatama struck the ground where she had stood just moments ago and exploded in a torrent of fire and heat, blowing her further back. It doesn't matter what you are or how much power you have. I will defeat you here, she yelled in growing anger and frustration as her spear started to glow again. Juryoku no Yari, Girabiti, she exclaimed as the spearhead changed into a dark, irregular blade, with a round base and white ornament on it. A large dark sphere of energy formed at the tip of the spear and expanded until it was 4 times the size of her body. That doesn't look friendly, Naruto commented aloud before holding out his hand to the side. 2 golden chakra arms formed out of his elbow and spun as chakra and wind spiraled in the palm of his hand, creating a white chakra shuriken. Futon, Raisin Shuriken, he called out as he hurled the attack right at the massive dark sphere. The 2 attacks struck each other and suddenly silence descended upon the battlefield as the chakra shuriken seemed to bleed into the darkness. Just as suddenly as it came, the silence abruptly ended with a cascade of violent wind and a massive exploded. Both attacks seemed to resonate and then unleash a blast of fire and smoke which blew both combatants away from each other. Judging by that last attack it would seem I am at a disadvantage at long range, Nightwalker mused. I need to close the distance, she added as her spear started to glow once more. Saryu no Yari, Buru Kurimasen, she exclaimed as her spear separated into two, one with its spearhead covered in flames and the other covered in bright blue ice. She jumped into the air and unleashed a barrage of fire and ice down upon the blonde Jinchuriki before her. How many different spears does she have? Naruto thought as the fire and ice closed in on him. Shinseiten, Arakuru Arashur, he whispered as silver flames erupted from his eyes and shaped them into a directed hurricane of fire which struck both oncoming attacks. He'd been working on adding shape manipulation to the silver flames he could create with Amaterasu, and the Shinseiten was the result of his blood, sweat and tears. It took him a while to break it down, but with Itachi's help he was able to find out exactly why the flames were silver instead of the regular black flames that Itachi could create. It turned out that because of Naruto's much larger yang chakra, the flame's characteristics were altered slightly when compared to Itachi's yin chakra-based Enten, as the Uchiha had named it. What is this guy? Nightwalker asked in thought as the storm of silver flames quickly overwhelmed Nightwalker's fire and ice attacks as Naruto dispelled his Susanoo. Come on, he muttered as he jumped right at her in a flash of yellow light and started gathering silver flames around his right hand. Shinseiten, Ten no Ikari, he called out. He threw his hand out and silver flames shot out in the shape of a lance, tearing up the battlefield and setting it ablaze. Fuin no Yari, Runcibu. Nightwalker countered as her spears quickly remerged and changed into a white and gold spear. She swiped down and suddenly the silver flames were pushed back enough to grant her some breathing room. You dance well, Naruto said with a grin. Someone once told me that when two strong people trade blows like this then they don't need words to understand each other. What is your point? Nightwalker asked. Can you read my thoughts? Naruto asked back. Can you see what's in my mind right now? I can see just fine, Nightwalker replied as her spear started to glow again. Then let's end this little duel of ours, Naruto said as he formed two chakra arms from his shoulder and brought them to his hands. Red and blue sphere of chakra started to gather into a black orb in his hands a moment later. So that's your trump card, is it? That is your best shot? Nightwalker mused. Very well, then I won't hold anything back either, she shouted as her spear changed into a silver blade, with a gold element in its basal part and a red crystal in its center. Imari. Siso, Ryuvaruto. The two voices echoed through the air and were soon followed by a crimson light as the entire floating island exploded and fell to the ground below in a shower of fire and debris. Edulas, Royal City. Miles below, King Faust stood on a balcony looking up as the entire floating island that housed the red lacrima exploded violently. From the reports he had received, it appeared that mages from Earthland had launched an attack on his kingdom in order to try and save the people he had turned into lacrima and power his world. Prepare the Dorma Anim, the king ordered. I'm heading out too. But sir. That's forbidden under the Article 23 of the Imperial Charter. A soldier stammered out. Prepare it. Faust snapped at the unfortunate man. Why yes my lord, the soldier bowed and hurriedly ran to carry out the king's order. My plans are so close to completion, Faust thought as he glared up at floating island nation of Extalia. I will not allow a bunch of children to interfere and ruin everything. Idalos, floating island / Extalia. What's going on? Those two exceed. Brought a human here. Those were the words that were being spoken amongst the large crowd of Exceed as Wendy walked down the middle of the street with both Carla and Happy by her sides. The Exceed were revered by the humans of this world as something like angels and gods, but the three fairy tale mages knew better. There was a difference between being a god and having the power of a god, and these Exceed were just like everyone else since they could also make mistakes. Naruto, Itachi, Conan and Nagato were proof of that. I'd like an audience with the queen, Wendy requested, though it certainly didn't sound like it. Out of the way, make way for Meow. A black and white Exceed with an unusually long neck appeared from the crowd by the name of Nady shouted. Why you guys are in trouble. Humans are prohibited from infiltrating Extalia. What an awful perfume, spoke another Exceed whom reminded the three fairy tale mages of Ichiya from back on the Earthland. Is that Ichiya-san? Happy blinked in surprise. Seize them. Nichiya ordered and a dozen larger Exceed appeared wearing armor and carrying spears. Wendy, Carla spoke clearly. Please handle them. No problem, Wendy nodded and rushed forward to engage the Extalian soldiers. Tenryu no Yukugeki, she exclaimed as wind spun around her arms and blew the Extalian soldiers, including Nichiya, back and into the nearby buildings and food stands. You'll be sorry for this, human, an Exceed civilian in the crowd shouted. You don't even know about the queen's magic power. We're Exceed. We're better than you humans. So pitiful, Wendy said quietly, but everyone heard her words. Your power has made you blind and arrogant. There are those infinitely greater that have fallen from even higher heights than you. Earlier she sounded like Naruto and now she's sounding like Itachi. She's been spending far too much time with them, Carla thought. We asked to see the queen, that wasn't a request, it was a demand. You dare? Growled another nameless Exceed. That's enough, an unfamiliar female voice spoke clearly. All of you, the crowd back away as a reasonably tall female Exceed with white fur similar to Carla stood surrounded by a collection of elderly male Exceed. She wore a multi-layered white and purple dress and a golden crown. This was Queen Shagat, the ruler of Extalia and hailed as a god by the humans of this world. The time has come, she declared sadly. Your Highness. Nady exclaimed in surprise as all of the Exceed bowed their heads in reverence. Everyone, please raise your heads, Shagat asked of her people. Now calm down and listen to my words. Why is the queen here? I bet she's about to do some crazy destructive magic. Quiet down. You bring destruction upon this world, Shagat spoke directly to Wendy. Because of that I have come to a decision. Don't blame us for your own mistakes, Wendy glared back. You enslaved an entire race, made them revere you as gods and angels. Now look at where that's got you, your world's magic is disappearing and you decide to steal magic from other worlds without a care as to the lives you've ruined. How many more people have to suffer because of you and everyone else in this world? That is the fault of the humans, Shagat responded. 6 years ago you sent us on a mission to Earthland to kill the dragon slayers, Carla snarled angrily. We're nobody's puppets. Happy yelled. I'm sorry, Shagat apologized knowing that at least that action was caused by her and the elders alone. It seems that the time has finally come, she mused as she let her dress fall revealing her slim white body with a purple dress. What caught everyone's attention however was the fact that she appeared to only have one wing. Why your highness? Nady asked shocked at the sight of the single wing. My decision is this, Shagat declared. I will tell you the truth, I am a mere Exceed, not a queen, and certainly not a god. I am the same Exceed as all of you, I have no power with which to fight, I am deeply sorry for hiding it from you. Wendy-san, Carla-san, Happy-san, was it? I apologize to the three of you, it's my fault, I'm the one who authorized that mission. Please do not hold grudges against everyone else here. What do you mean? Wendy questioned. No, it falls to the responsibility of us elders who made up such a thing as a queen. We're a very weak race, and long ago the humans did many horrible things to us. That's why, in order to protect ourselves, we made the humans think we had some kind of power. And in order for all of the Exceed to regain confidence, we even made all of Extalia believe in the power of God, spoke the elder known as Mesiel. Humans who believe at first eventually came to embrace and fear the power of God, Martam said next. Rather than the power of God, however, it was really just a bluff we Exceed made, Mistroy added. For example, the human management that chooses who we kill, that's all made up. We aren't choosing which humans to kill, we have no such power, of course. There is one power though, Martam continued. And that is Shagat's ability to see the future, she can see the death of humans. We made people think that these people were being killed due to the Queen's decisions too. That's a lie. The Queen is God. No. Irrelevant, Carla growled out. Whether or not you really have power, you ordered us to kill our friends and that is the truth. Shagat never gave such an order, Mesiel countered. Strange memories were implanted within me, my heart was controlled. You ordered me to carry out the Dragon Slayer massacre from before I was born. Carla shouted in anger. That's... Shagat trailed off as she looked away. And no she didn't, Nady stammered. There's a long, deep story behind this. I don't care what story it is, Carla shot back. I will not forgive her for that. Carla. Wendy whispered sadly. It's exactly as you say, Carla-san, Shagat nodded as she threw down a sword in front of the three. You are innocent and yet I hurt you the most. Please judge my sins with your hands, she said as she dropped to one knee and bowed her head. As one who loves both humans and Exceed, you have that right. Your Highness. Carla, stop now. Wendy yelled as Carla picked up the blade and walked over to the Queen of Extalia. After everything you've done and all the pain you've caused. I hope you can find peace with a real god, Carla said as she raised the sword up and the swung down. Clang. You can't do this, Carla, Happy said as tears fell freely from his eyes with a kunai in his hands holding back Carla's sword just above Shagat's neck. Happy. Carla trailed off in shock. She's not worth it, Happy pleaded. You're better than this, please, stop this, they don't matter, the Queen doesn't matter and nor does anyone else in this country. You don't remember everything like I did, Happy, Carla cried. She deserves this. You know that. It doesn't make it right, Happy responded. Let's go home, let's just leave and then we'll never have to bother with them again. Okay, Carla nodded as his arms gave way and she dropped the sword to the ground. Carla-san, Happy-san. Shagat whispered as Carla fell forward and Happy caught her in his arms. Those two, they're both, I've caused them nothing but pain and yet why would they spare me? Come on, let's get out of here and find the others. Happy smiled as Carla buried her head into his chest and cried. He stopped her from killing me, why? He said I wasn't worth it. Did he mean that he stopped her so she wouldn't become like me? Shagat thought as she watched the three mages walk away. I'm sorry for all of the pain I've caused you, my daughter. Chapter 25, Dragon Knight. Idalos, Royal City/Streets. When the floating island that once held the red lacrima crystal exploded, both Naruto and Nightwalker fell down to the city below along with the rest of the debris. The debris rained down all over the city, crushing buildings and setting the streets ablaze. Amidst the chaos, both Naruto and Nightwalker struggled to stand as the civilians all around them were panicking, wondering what was happening. Well? Naruto asked the question. His trench coat was in tatters, forcing him to discard it on the ground beside him, and he felt every bone in his body ach. He couldn't seem to draw on any more of the Kyuubi's chakra, and his own seemed to be almost completely gone, leaving only enough to live. This could be a problem, he thought as he quickly ran through his options. I have no chakra left. I can't seem to use Kurama's chakra right now. There is no natural energy in this world, so that rules out Senjutsu, and without chakra I can't use the Sharingan. So, what do I do now? You never shut up, do you? Nightwalker shot back. Her armor had been shattered when she had hit the ground after falling from the floating island. The strain from the combined efforts of Naruto's attacks, her determination to push beyond her limits, and a fall from such a height seemed to be too much for the customized Idalos Royal Army battle armor. Her hair was a mess and her shoulders were exposed, giving her a surprisingly devilish look. Has anyone ever told you that you're hot when you're angry? Naruto said cheekily. You? Nightwalker gritted angrily as her face turned red and she shot forward as fast as she could physically move. So much for coming up with a plan to win, Naruto thought as he dodged a punch from Nightwalker. She didn't let up though and quickly rushed to continue her assault, forcing Naruto back as the two traded blows. It's been a while since I've fought hand-to-hand without the Sharingan, he grinned as he caught the redhead's fists and brought his face close to hers. You know, if I wasn't already dating Earthland's Urza, I would have asked you out by now. I'm not her, Nightwalker glared back. Don't compare me to her. She pulled back and dropped onto her back before springing back up and landing a swift double kick to Naruto's chest, knocking him to the ground. She pounced on him and started raining punches down on him as he brought up his arms to shield his face. I'm Urza, nobody else. Captain Nightwalker, shouted out one of the Idalos soldiers as half a battalion came running through the streets to aid her. It looks like I can't ever catch a break, Naruto gritted out as he pushed with his legs and kicked Nightwalker off of him. He jumped to his feet and nursed his rapidly healing bruises. Lady, you have some real anger management problems to work out. Silence. Nightwalker roared out as she stood once more. Your orders, Captain, asked one of the soldiers. Kill him, Nightwalker ordered clearly. Kori no Zokiai Meiho, Isa Kaianon, a male voice echoed as dozens of ice bolts rained down upon the Idalos soldiers. What? Nightwalker shouted in surprise as she quickly turned around to confront those who had dared attack them. Hey, you guys are going to kill him, knowing he's from our guild? A familiar male voice asked mockingly. We never forgive those who raise a hand against members of our guild, spoke a female voice which Naruto instantly recognized. Especially when the one you raised your hand against is my fiancé. That makes us enemies, the male voice declared. You are all enemies of Fairy Tail. Urza-chan, Gray, you're here. Naruto blinked as a large smile stretched across his face. This is the Earthland me, thought a surprised Nightwalker. How are you here? I'd like to know that too, Naruto added. Gajeel broke us out of the lacrima in the city's main plaza, Gray replied with a shrug. The last we saw of him, he was heading for that big lacrima floating over our heads. Is anyone else awake in this world? Naruto asked. Just Itachi, Mistigan, Nagato and Konan, Urza Scarlet answered. Mistigan, Nagato and Konan are trying to send that lacrima back to Earthland. And Itachi? Naruto asked further. He took off earlier and we haven't seen him since, Gray responded. This can't be happening, Nightwalker whispered as the sky lit up and suddenly the large blue lacrima on the floating island above them disappeared. It looks like Mistigan finally pulled through, Gray commented with a whistle. Let's go, Scarlet said clearly as she grabbed Gray and Naruto. Kanso, Kureha no Yoroi, her body glowed as her black wind armor formed around her. Wait! Nightwalker shouted, but it was already too late. Scarlet had already took off into the air towards the floating island that once held the large blue lacrima, holding both Naruto and Gray's hands as she carried them towards their destination. Idalos, floating island / blue lacrima. What happened? Lucy stammered as the dust cleared to reveal a large crater where the large blue lacrima had been only seconds before. The lacrima, it's gone? Natsu blinked in confusion. It's been returned to Earthland, a new voice spoke up from above them. Mystigan? Natsu asked in surprise. I apologize for being so late, Mystigan sighed as he stood atop a large hovering eagle. I was searching for the anima in order to send it back, and we wouldn't have made it without everyone's strength. You sent it back? Lucy asked. Yes, Mystigan nodded. Using the anima once again, the lacrima has been returned to Earthland in its original form, everyone has been saved. Oh, thank Kami-sama, Lucy sighed in relief. Lily, Mystigan smiled as he removed his mask. It's good to see you again. You too, Your Highness, Panther Lily nodded back. Mystigan. Gajeel. Natsu. Lucy. Gray yelled as Urza dropped him and the exhausted Naruto onto the floating island. Hey you three. Lucy waved with a smile. What the hell happened to you? Gajeel asked upon seeing the state Naruto was in. I was fighting Urza's evil twin, Naruto replied. Naruto, Urza-san, Gray-san, Nagato spoke as he and Konan hovered in the air above the floating island. It's good to see you again. What are you two doing here? Naruto questioned. And where is Jalal? He remained behind in Earthland while we ventured here with Mystigan and Itachi. We thought you could use the help, Konan answered as her paper wings flapped in order to keep her in the air. You did it. Wendy cheered as Carla and Happy dropped her off on the floating island. Is everyone safe? They've all been returned to Earthland, Mystigan nodded with a small smile. Where is Itachi, exactly? Naruto asked. We thought he was with you, Nagato replied. Jalal. You dare return like this, a loud and angry voice sounded from below them. Is that the king? Lucy asked. Where is he? After having concealed your whereabouts for 7 years, now you brazenly return. I am well aware that you were traveling about in Earthland closing up the anima. You traitor, the king's voice echoed. Where is that voice coming from? Wendy asked. Hey, show yourself. Natsu shouted. Your anima plan has failed, Mystigan declared simply. There is no longer any meaning in this battle, is there? Meaning? Meaning in battle, you say? Faust sneered as far below in the main plaza of the royal city, the massive dragon-like war machine known simply as Dorma Anim stood up and glared up at them. This is no battle, this is retribution against those who would make themselves enemies of the king, this is unilateral extermination. What is that? Lucy stammered at the sight. It almost looks like a dragon. Naruto mused. If you intend to stand in my way, I will erase you and not leave the merest trace behind, Faust declared. Father. Mystigan said with horror in his eyes. I am not your father, I am the king of Idalos. Faust proclaimed. Come to think of it, if I just finish you here, the one closing up the anima in Earthland will have disappeared. I can create giant lacrima and try to fuse them with the exceed as many times as I please. Ha 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 ha. Nothing is impossible before the power of the king. The power of the king is absolute. Dorma Anim, in the language of this world, it means dragon knight, so it's got the reinforced armor of a dragon, Mystigan explained to the others. Dragon. Natsu muttered. Now that you mention it, that appearance. Happy trailed off. What do you mean reinforced armor? Carla asked. Its armor negates any magic thrown at it, Mystigan answered. My father must be piloting it from the inside. Come, my army. Crush them. Faust ordered and suddenly dozens of flying lizards with Idalos soldiers riding them ascended into the sky towards the fairy tale mages. I'll deal with them, Scarlet spoke up as her body glowed and re-equipped her Heaven's Wheel armor. Kanso, Tenrin no Yoroi, dozens of swords materialized around her as she jumped into the air. Tenrin, Sakuran Soto, the blades spun around her before lashing out and cutting into the flying lizards. That outfit again, Naruto grinned as he held his now bleeding nose. Damn it Urza-chan, you're killing me here. Scary. Happy shivered in fright. What are we going to do about that thing? Gray asked as he looked down at the massive metal dragon. Magic is useless against it, Mystigan responded. What about chakra? Naruto asked. That may work but you're not in any condition to fight that thing right now, Mystigan replied. Where is Itachi when we need him? Naruto gritted his teeth in frustration. I will not let a single one of you escape. Every last one of you will perish. Faust yelled in glee as the dragon's mouth opened and a condensed blast of blue magic exploded at the floating island above it. Sanjima Hojin, Kyosui. Mystigan exclaimed as he jumped in front of the blast and created 3 magic circles between him and the oncoming destruction. The barrier spell pulsed once and then reflected the blue beam back at Dragon Knight, exploding upon contact in a fiery blaze. Mystigan! Wendy shouted in worry. Mystigan? Is that your name in Earthland, Jalal? Ha 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 ha. Faust laughed as his Dragon Knight stood unharmed by the reflected attack. Foolish boy. Magic does not work against the Dorma anim. Suddenly another blast was fired from the metal dragon's mouth, striking Mystigan in the chest and sending him falling towards the forest below. Mystigan! Scarlet yelled at seeing him fall. Damn it! Naruto cursed. I hate feeling so useless. Crawling on the ground suits you. You should die there on the ground, just like that. You bastards are next. Faust said as he took aim at the floating island once more. Shit, we've got to get the hell out of here. Fighting that thing is out of the question, Gray spoke up. Karyu no Tekken. Natsu exclaimed as he dropped straight down and landed a resounding punch with his fist encased in burning hot flames. What? Faust shouted in surprise as he felt his Dragon Knight lurch from the impact. Who is inflicting damage on my magic-proof Dorma anim? Tetsuryukan. Gajeel called out as his right arm transformed into a steel club and slammed into the Dragon Knight's chest, knocking it off balance. Tenryu no Hoko. Wendy roared as a tornado of wind exploded from her mouth and struck in Metal Dragon in the side, knocking it to the ground. Hey, that's pretty good, Wendy, Natsu praised as the 3 landed side by side. Not at all, Wendy countered. You 2 inflicted more damage. You bastard, Gajeel said as he glared at the Metal Dragon before them. You've got a lot of nerve bringing a dragon to fight us. His glare turned into a sneer. I've seen some real losers in my time, but you really take the cake. Natsu, Wendy, Gajeel. Lucy trailed off as she looked down at the battlefield below. Will they be all right with just the 3 of them? There's nothing to worry about, Gray replied. Their opponent is a dragon. They're the ones who can defeat it because they're the mages who slay dragons. They're dragon slayers, Scarlet said clearly. We need to get off of this island right now, Naruto suggested. Agreed, Scarlet nodded. Happy, Carla, can you both take us down there 2 at a time? Yes, Carla answered for them both and quickly picked up Gray and Lucy. I will help too, Panther Lily spoke up. Why? Scarlet asked him. Because I believe in the prince, Panther Lily replied honestly. All right then, let's get down and back into this fight. Idalos, Mobile Fairy Tale. They'd been hunted for years and slaughtered by the Idalos royal army led by the fairy hunter, Urza Nightwalker. They'd lost half of their numbers, including their guild master when the Natsu and Wendy of Earthland suddenly came to the guild. They'd been searching for their friends and thought their guild was the Earthland Fairy Tale. Ida Lucy had gotten them magic weapons to use when she ran into her Earthland counterpart, and Idonatsu had taken the Earthland mages near the royal city. From what her spy, a reporter by the name of Gajeel, said, it seemed like an all-out war was being fought between the royal army and the Idalos Fairy Tale. And her guild, the last guild in Idalos, kept running away like a bunch of cowards. Ida Lucy had stood on top of a table and spoke to the entire guild, informing them of the situation and the war between the royal army and the Earthland Fairy Tale. She wanted to help fight against the royal army, but those in the guild were afraid of the consequences of battling the royal army soldiers, especially the captains. You're a difficult group to track down, an unfamiliar voice spoke to the room, catching their attention. When I heard that there was a fairy tale in Idalos, I wanted to see what was the difference compared to the fairy tale of Earthland. Now I see what that difference is. The Earthland Fairy Tale aren't cowards. Who are you? Itojet sneered as he took note of the newcomer's attire. He wore black cloak emblazoned with red clouds and his eyes were crimson red with a strange pattern. Itachi Uchiha, spoke the newcomer. A member of the Earthland Fairy Tale. What do you want? Demanded Itodroy. I was originally curious as to the nature of this guild when compared to my own, Itachi admitted in monotone. I had planned on requesting some assistance in the battle against King Faust, however just from one glance I can see that I shouldn't have wasted my time. Good day to you. He shook his head and turned to leave. You dare insult our guild, Itojet said in anger as he rushed forward, gliding on the floor towards Itachi. You think you can come in here and then leave as if you own the place? We'll show you, Itodroy sneered as he rushed forward with his club in hand. So weak, Itachi commented as he turned his head and looked back at the 2 attacking mages. Utakata, he thought, and a second later both Itojet and Itodroy fell to the ground with their eyes open. My Genjutsu skills have improved greatly too after attaining the Eternal Mangekyo Sharingan. This guy, he took out Jet and Droy like they were nothing, thought Ida Lucy. Please don't fight, spoke an unfamiliar sound from the Uchiha side. I thought I'd met everyone in Earthland's fairy tale, Itachi thought as he turned his gaze on a young girl, possibly around Naruto's age, with white hair standing with a sad look on her face. He saw what looked like the Idolos versions of Mirajane and Elfman beside her. That hair color? He narrowed his eyes as his Sharingan spun back into existence. Her chakra is different from the other two, in fact, it's just like the Earthland Myra's and Elfman's chakra. They just want to live in peace without fighting, the young woman spoke. You, Itachi mused aloud. Are not from Idolos, are you? Silence when the question was asked. You're from Earthland. Yes, nodded the young woman in confirmation. She felt Ito Mirajane grip her shoulder in comfort as she confronted the strange cloaked man in front of her. I was transported here, 2 years, when the me that was here died. I see, Itachi said finally before turning to leave once more. She must be Myra's and Elfman-san's younger sister. He started walking out of the main doors but stopped in the doorway. You know, your real brother and sister must be worried about you, not that it matters anymore, he spoke sadly before leaving. I'm sorry, I'm so sorry. The young woman, Lisanna Strauss, finally broke down and cried for the life that she had lost. Chapter 26, The Fate of the World. Idolos, Royal City/Main Plaza. Ha 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 ha. As long as I have Dorma Anim, the ultimate magical weapon, my army will be immortal. Faust laughed as the 3 Dragon Slayer collapsed to the ground with a series of loud thuds. Gather more magic power. Ye sky, ye earth. Give your magic to Dorma Anim. Salamander, let's use our breath, spoke an exhausted Gajeel. Kid, you too, he said towards the Bluinet. We've been holding back since we don't know what will happen, but we've got no other choice. Understood, Wendy agreed. Yeah. Natsu agreed as the 3 threw their heads back and took a deep breath. Karyu no Hoko, he exclaimed as a large tornado of fire exploded from his mouth. Tetsuryu no Hoko. Gajeel roared as he released a similar tornado of spinning metal. Tenryu no Hoko. Wendy called out as she too unleashed a blast of compressed spinning air. The 3 attacks wrapped around each other and merged into one before striking the Dragon Knight in the chest with inhuman force. The world seemed to explode as the whole city shook under the resulting shockwave from the blast. Heh, we did it, Gajeel smirked. Ha 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 ha, a roaring laughter echoed from above causing them to snap their gaze skyward. Above us. Natsu yelled as they caught sight of a undamaged Dorma Anim descending towards them. It can jump? Gajeel gritted out. No way, Wendy breathed. Our attack didn't hit. Then we'll just have to hit it again, Natsu responded. I will not let that happen. Faust shouted as he unleashed a barrage of magic beams from the Dragon Knight's mouth. The bolts of magic struck down on the ground below and exploded in a stream of fire and carnage that stretched across the landscape. The 3 Dragon Slayers tried to dodge but were not able to completely escape and ended up sprawled across the ground as the Dorma Anim touched back down onto the now crater-filled battlefield that was once the main plaza of the royal city. This is bad, Gajeel rasped out as Natsu spewed some blood onto the ground from his mouth. No? Magic, left. It appears you've run dry, Faust taunted. Infinite mages though you may be, once you've run out of magic, it won't return for a while. You may assume that your treatment will depend upon your behavior. Now come quietly and become the source of my world's magic power. It's over, I can't stand. Wendy thought. So this is it? Gajeel trailed off. Don't give up, Natsu gritted out as he pushed his bloodied self to his feet. It's not over yet, bring it on you bastard, I'm standing right here. Why don't you just give up and accept your fate? Faust yelled as the Dorma Anim brought its foot up and then down on Natsu who dropped to one knee as he caught the giant metal foot. Natsu. Wendy trailed off. You idiot, Gajeel grunted in pain. Without any magic there isn't anything we can do. Naruto doesn't need magic and he's still fighting. You saw the state he was in before. He's still fighting even though he's got nothing left to fight with. If he can do it then so can I. Natsu shouted as he called upon even more strength and then threw the Dragon Knight back across the plaza. Don't you dare underestimate us Dragon Slayers. Know your place you little shit. Faust bellowed as he unleashed another blast from the Dragon Knight's mouth, blowing Natsu back. Who the hell do you think you are? Tetsuryukan. Gajeel exclaimed as his right arm changed into a metal club and he tore through the foot of the Dorma Anim, locking it in place. My leg? Faust said confused as he tried to move the colossal machine. He won't be able to jump now. Gajeel yelled to the others. Go Salamander. Alright, Natsu nodded. Wendy, can you give me a boost? Got it, Wendy nodded and took out a scroll. Fuin, Kai, she called out as silver flames exploded from the scroll. Though she'd only started learning the ninja arts from Naruto and Itachi, she at least knew how to unseal a containment scroll. Natsu seemingly inhaled the silver flames, courtesy of Naruto, and then exploded flames as scales formed across the skin. Doragon Fosu, the flames turned yellow and he shot forward like a bullet, the flames taking the form of arrow as he closed in on the Dragon Knight. Metsu Ryu Oji, Shiranui Gata, Girin Huken, he exclaimed as he tore right through the Dorma Anim with an echoing roar. Heh, Gajeel thought as the Dragon Knight crumbled to the ground. Naruto must have made those silver flames of his and sealed them away for Wendy to give to Natsu anytime he needed to trigger the Doragon Fosu. I need to find out how to trigger mine or else I'll fall behind at this rate. What's the matter, old man? Natsu asked over his shoulder with a grin. I'm supposed to say checkmate roundabout now, huh? You're supposed to say that before you take the king, Wendy replied with an exhausted smile. You lose, old man, Gajeel smirked as the three stared down at the now comatose king of Idalas. Idalas, outskirts/battlefield. Naruto rolled to the left, avoiding a fireball that exploded just feet away from him and threw a pair of shuriken at his attacker. The Idalas soldier cried out in pain as the shuriken cut across his arms. The wounds weren't deep, and he wasn't really looking for fatal, but the attack forced the soldier to drop his staff. The blonde ex-shinobi was beyond exhausted after everything that had happened today. First he gets turned into a giant magic crystal to be used as a power source, then he fights the guys in charge of a world-spanning empire including his fiancée's evil twin, and now he was fighting alongside his remaining guildmates, as well as Nagato and Konan, against the largest army he'd ever seen. When this is over, Naruto breathed. I want a nice stemming bowl of ramen with extra miso. He twirled his kusanagi around and used it to deflect another fireball. Kori no Zokiai, Isugaiza. Gray called out as he created dozens of spikes that sprouted up from the ground and forced the royal army back. There's just no end to them. It didn't help that they were being careful not to outright kill any of the Idalas soldiers, just disarm them. Without their magic weapons they were practically powerless. They've got reinforcements coming in too, Nagato mused as he saw several of the flying creatures from before descend upon the battlefield. At this rate we'll be killed, Carla gritted out as she hovered behind them. Naruto, I will talk with you, now, Kurama spoke from the back of his mind. What is it? I'm kind of in the middle of something here, Naruto responded. Listen to me carefully, Kurama spoke clearly. I'm going to give you some of my power. It won't be much since this cage still restrains me, but it should be enough to get you back in the fight. Why? Naruto asked, more confused than suspicious. I don't like others controlling my power, but in this instance I'd rather you use it than them, Kurama replied with a snarl. The demon fox was a prideful creature and did not like it when others tried to harness its power. The people of Idalas had tried to turn it into an energy source to power their civilization. These humans were as bad as the ones back in the shinobi world, and if he had to make a choice between Naruto and them, then the choice was obvious. Alright, Naruto thought in agreement. Let's do this. It's not much, but it'll do against these weaklings, Kurama said as he pushed a small amount of his chakra through the seal and into Naruto. Naruto's yellow chakra shroud flared to life and he shot off like a flash of light, tearing into a dozen Idalas soldiers in a matter of seconds. He jumped to evade a fireball and threw out a chakra claw, grabbing hold of the neck of one of the flying creatures and pulled it towards him. His other hand came up and created a large chakra fist which slammed into the beast's head, sending it crashing down to the ground and forcing a couple of soldiers to roll away from the impact site. To think he's able to use the Kyuubi's power to such a degree, Nagato mused at the sight. Look! Lucy shouted as a large tree emerged from the ground. That's... Happy trailed off at the sight. It had a guild mark on the side. Fairy Tail. You've got to be kidding me, Naruto muttered as the members of the Idalas Fairy Tail emerged from the tree and charged at the royal army. Let's go. Yeah. We don't just keep running away. Let's show them that you don't mess with Fairy Tail. Beat the Kingdom Army. My apologies for our tardiness, Itachi spoke as he seemingly appeared at Naruto's side. It took me a while for me to get their act together and aid us in this fight. This was your idea? Naruto asked with a faint smile as he felt Kurama's chakra leave him once more. I was wondering where you were. We should endeavor to end things here quickly, Itachi suggested. I imagine that Mystigan is preparing to enact the final phase of his plan. Final phase? Naruto inquired. Yes, Itachi nodded. Surely you must have noticed that Nagato and Konan are gone. What? Naruto said in surprise and looked around. Where did they go? They were here a minute ago. Sure enough, the two weren't there anymore. It would seem that it has begun, Itachi mused as all of the Earthland Fairy Tail mages started to glow. Idalas, Royal City/Anima. This is, the room that produces the anima, Your Highness, just what are you planning? Panther Lily asked as they entered the chamber. I'm sending most of the Earthland forces back to their world, Mystigan replied as they approached the center. This world's magic power is running out and there's no way to stop it. At this point I have one of two options. I either open an anima in reverse and send all of Idola's magic power to Earthland or dash. Or he has us teach the knowledge of chakra to this world, a voice spoke up from behind them. Nagato, Conan. Mystigan nodded in greeting. This world's magic power won't last much longer, but it should still have enough time for them to begin training the next generation to survive what's coming. You're talking about the end of the world, Panther Lily said slowly. I'm talking about the survival of this world, Mystigan countered. There are no other options. And which one have you chosen? Panther Lily inquired. There's, Mystigan nodded towards the two ex-Akatsuki members. Long ago on my homeworld there was endless war until a man bearing eyes like mine appeared and taught the mysteries of chakra. I intend to do the same thing as he did only here on this world, Nagato explained. He was known as the Rikudo Sennin, the savior of the world. I see, Panther Lily nodded in understanding. So what happens now? It has already begun, Mystigan replied. Did you get to say goodbye? He asked the two ex-Akatsuki members. No, Conan smiled sadly. This is where we part ways with them, from here on they are on own. The fighting died down quickly when all across the battlefield, the Earthland fairy tale mages were lifted off and vanished in bursts of light. Soon after Princess Jalal emerged and took control of the kingdom. King Faust was exiled and the remaining division commanders including Urza Nightwalker returned to active duty this time under Jalal's direct command. In the coming years Nagato and Conan would teach the wonders of chakra to the younger generations, bringing about a revolution the likes that Idalos had never seen. In the end they were able to save this dying world. Chapter 27, Return. Earthland, Magnolia/Outskirts. Vrook! Naruto screamed as he plummeted to the ground and impacted with an echoing explosion of dust. Oh man, he groaned as he rolled over onto his front. What the hell just happened? I believe that Mystigan's plan was successful, and unharmed Itachi spoke from his position at the edge of the crater Naruto's impact had created. What plan? Naruto groaned again as he pushed himself onto his knees. The plan to return us to Earthland of course, Itachi responded in the same monotone voice as usual. We're back. Natsu shouted to the reigning heavens. What about Fairy Tail? Gray asked the question. Over there. Lucy yelled as she pointed out towards the nearby city. The guild and the Magnolia town are back to normal. And what about Nagato and Conan? Naruto asked, not seeing them around. It was part of the plan, Itachi answered. They chose to stay behind in Idalos and teach chakra to that world. Leader Sama hoped that it would save them from destruction when their magic finally ran out. To substitute their need for magic, Urza Scarlet nodded in understanding. So? Naruto trailed off. We will most likely never see them again, Itachi said clearly. Damn it, Naruto cursed. Pull yourself together, Naruto, Urza said, catching his attention. Before we do anything else we should make sure everyone is alright. They're fine, a new voice spoke up causing everyone to snap their heads towards it. You've got to be kidding me, Naruto muttered as everyone stared in shock at the large number of Exceed flying around them. We reached Earthland ahead of you, one of the Exceed explained. We flew all over, the guild and everyone in the town are just fine. It looks like none of them realized that they were turned into a lacrima. Earthland is awesome. It's overflowing with magic. How? Carla trailed off. How'd the Exceed get here? All of you come down here right now, Naruto ordered as the world around them seemed to shake. The ground cracked a little as an overwhelming pressure pushed down on everyone present, forcing the Exceed to the ground in a matter of seconds. This pressure? Urza mused. This isn't from his chakra or his sage arts, it's from his presence alone. Incredible. This is no laughing matter, Carla spoke up as she pointed at the gathered Exceed. These guys are dangerous, we should return them to Idalos immediately. Wait, Carla, Happy waved his hand to get her attention. Extalia is gone, so even if we return them, where would they go? I don't care, Carla replied simply. Earthland has enough problems without adding more from others. Thanks Carla, Naruto said with an annoyed look. Are you trying to guilt trip me? He asked, knowing that between Itachi, Nagato and whoever else he had to deal with, he was already causing problems for Earthland himself. You're different, Carla countered. You can deal with whatever comes your way. She turned and pointed at the Exceed again. They can't even clean up their own mess. Shagat started. I should explain everything before we continue. I have the ability to see future events, and one day I foresaw an image of Extalia's destruction. In hindsight it's clear that it fell naturally as a result of the depletion of magic in Idalos, but at the time we thought it would come as a result of human actions. We realized that even if we went to war with the humans, we would never win. After convening a meeting, we established a plan to allow 100 of our children to escape from our dying world and sent them to Earthland. Officially they were being sent in order to destroy beasts called dragon slayers, however unofficially it was to safeguard the future of our race. And so you used the anima to send us here, Carla confirmed. Yes, Shagat nodded. However, one thing occurred we had not expected or planned for. Your power awakened and predicted and jumbled your memories. Among the 100 Exceed sent here, you were the only one with this power. It's likely you foresaw bits and pieces of the future of Idalas. And you probably mistook it for a mission. It can't be. Carla trailed off. Then what about the rest of us? Happy asked. There was never any such mission, Shagat concluded. It was truly misfortune upon misfortune. You created your imaginary mission. You've got to be kidding me, Carla gritted out. So it was all a lie? The lie I used to confront the prophecy concerning my people caused you great sorrow to both you and the families who had their eggs taken. That's why I surrendered my sword to you, Shagat explained. It is not the Exceed that are evil, just me. That's not true, Your Majesty. You did everything with all of us in mind. We were overconfident in ourselves, but we've made it all the way to Earthland. Let's go find those kids who escaped 6 years ago, a random Exceed spoke up. Yeah, we've got a new goal now, it's a new beginning. They can use my old Kate Shelter guild for now, Wendy spoke up. Technically speaking, Kate Shelter was no longer an active guild, however, since Wendy was still classed as a member despite her having joined Fairy Tail. The guild property rightfully belonged to her since she was the last one still alive besides Carla, of course. Thank you, Wendy, Carla nodded before narrowing her eyes. But why do I have the same power as you? I wonder about that. Shagat stammered and looked away. You're her mother, aren't you? Naruto asked the question, causing the Exceed Queen to freeze. Is that true? Carla asked after a moment of silence. Yes, Shagat nodded in confirmation. Then, that means. Carla trailed off. That makes you the princess of the Exceed, Wendy said clearly. And mother? Carla asked as her mother pulled her into a hug. I'm sorry for all the pain I've caused you, Shagat whispered. They'll stay here for now and we'll escort them to Kate Shelter tomorrow. For now I just want to go home and get a good night's sleep, Naruto sighed, for once completely exhausted. Naruto, Urza said slowly. Where's Itachi? She asked looking around. Not again, Naruto groaned. Seriously, why does he keep disappearing like that? I'm over here, Itachi spoke up from the side as he stepped out from behind a tree. My apologies for leaving, but there was someone I had to find, he added as another figure stepped up beside him, causing the rest of the Fairy Tail members in their group to freeze. That's. Gray started. Lisanna. Natsu whispered in shock. How did she end up here? Happy asked. Could it be Idola's Lisanna? Carla mused. No, Naruto shook his head in response as his own Sharingan spun. Her chakra signature too closely resembles those from Earthland. He knew for a fact that his Urza had a different signature when compared to Nightwalker, though unlike Itachi, he couldn't identify familial chakra lines like the Uchiha could. Natsu! Lisanna shouted as she lunged at the pink-haired dragon slayer and sent them to the ground. I finally get to see the real you again, she said as she smiled down at him. Happy. You're still as cute as I remember, she squealed as got off of Natus and hugged the Exceed to her chest. There's no way. Gray trailed off at the sight. Wait a second here, you can't be Earthland's Lisanna, can you? Yup, Lisanna nodded with a smile. You've got to be kidding me, Urza muttered. That doesn't make any sense, you died 2 years ago. I didn't die or anything. 2 years ago, while I was on a mission with Mirane and Elf Niken, I was struck down and lost consciousness. I was probably pulled into an anima and ended up in Idalas, Lisanna explained. This sounds familiar, Itachi mused, remembering his own experience with near-death interdimensional travel. When I found Fairy Tail after I woke up in Idalas, I was surprised, Lisanna continued. Everyone's vibe was different, but there were people who knew me there and everyone thought I was Idola's Lisanna. I figured that the real Idalas Lisanna was already probably dead, or at least that's what I felt from their reactions to me. I couldn't tell them the truth, so I pretended to be the Lisanna they knew. It was confusing at first, but after I got used to everyone and hiding my own magic, I got along well with them. Then, you two showed up, Natsu, Happy. Why didn't you tell us? Natsu asked her. Why didn't you tell me? I couldn't say it. Lisanna admitted. However, when all the magic power in Idalas was sent to Earthland with the anima, I was pulled along too and I ended up here with you all. Lisanna, Natsu started. I know, Lisanna nodded sadly. I'm sorry for everything. Let's go home. Earthland, Magnolia/Chaldea Cathedral. The sky was dark and cloudy with heavy rain as two figures stood side by side in the graveyard. The larger of the two was Elfman Strauss holding an umbrella, his face wearing a blank look as sadness and guilt sat behind his eyes. His sister, Mira Jane Strauss, knelt down by the gravestone and brushed aside a set of leaves from the top as the two stared longingly at the name embedded in the stone. Lisanna Strauss. "Nay-chan, we should get going," Elfman spoke up. "Just a little longer," Mira responded. Splash. "Mira nay." Elf Niken, a familiar voice shouted from behind them. That voice, Mira thought as she rose from her crouch and turned. "It can't be," she said aloud when she first caught sight of her sister. "Lisanna." Elfman shouted in disbelief as his youngest sister threw herself into Mira's arms. "I'm home," Lisanna whispered in the rain. Tears mixed with the rain as Elfman wrapped his arms around his younger siblings. "Welcome home. Earthland, Magnolia/Fairy Tale. It looks like the guild's changed a bit too," Lisanna commented as she walked through the crowded guild. "And your vibe has changed too, Mirane." "Really?" Mira asked back smiling. "But I guess Fairy Tale is still Fairy Tale after all," Lisanna sighed at the sight of the party before her. "I ain't working today, so let's drink." "Welcome home, Lisanna." As the party continued, Itachi looked on from the second floor and watched with his trademark neutral expression. He couldn't deny that the situation could have been handled better, though perhaps it had all turned out for the best. They had all returned safely, and with the exception of Nagato and Conan, who had both opted to remain behind in Idalas. Hopefully the situation there would stabilize now that Mystigan had claimed the throne and taken control of that world's government. The situation here on Earthland was much easier to deal with. The Exceed were to be relocated to the former Kate Shelter Guild tomorrow, and thankfully no one in Magnolia had noticed something wrong when the whole city was turned into a giant lacrima. After a bit of explaining and a happy family reunion, it seemed that everything had gone back to normal. "So here you are," Mira spoke up as she approached the silent Uchiha from the side. "I wanted to thank you for what you did, bringing her back to us like that." "It was merely an accident that I found her," Itachi reasoned. "I had originally gone to confront the Idalas Fairy Tale in order to acquire some much-needed aid against the king and found her amongst their members. I knew that when we returned to Earthland, she would have been dragged along with us for being native to this world." "Thank you," Mira said with a smile. Itachi grunted and turned away. "Talk about the strong silent type? Earthland, Magnolia/Outskirts. Space and time distorted as a single figure wearing an orange spiral mask with two eyeholes warped into existence atop one of the many trees. He started out over the buzzing city as the moon hung in the night sky like an untouchable jewel, reflecting light down on the world below. Again a distortion ripped through the air around his right eye, materializing a black and white plant-like humanoid at his side. "So this is it?" asked the white plant. "He has to be here," the black plant replied. "I still can't believe that pain failed," the white plant shook its head. "It doesn't matter anymore," the masked man declared. "Soon the Kyuubi will be mine, but before that I will show them despair, I will show them my power, the power of Uchiha Madara." Chapter 28, Red Moon. Earthland, Magnolia. Uchiha Obito was a patient man having waited in the shadows and arranged events to best suit his goals. He'd been considered a failure of the Uchiha clan even after he had been placed on the team under the command of the no-quite-yet Yondaime Hokage, Namikaze Minato. He'd been one of the many casualties of the Third Shinobi War but had survived death at the price of losing his right arm and leg. He'd been recovered by the legendary Uchiha Madara, who had bandaged him up and was forced to remain in what was practically a hospital bed while he recovered. A few years spent in that cave recovering from his injuries were interrupted by news from one of the Zetsu clones of his former teammates being in danger. The spiral Zetsu then fused itself to him, giving him an arm and leg to replace the ones he had lost, and he'd set out to save his teammates. He'd arrived at the scene to discover that Kakashi had killed Rin before passing out. He'd went into a blind rage soon after upon awakening his Mangekyo Sharingan. He'd slaughtered the Kirinins in the area and left the blood-soaked battlefield, returning to Madara. It was there that he learned of the Moon's Eye plan. Madara had passed away soon after and Obito had taken the man's name as his own, slipping into the shadows. He had manipulated Nagato into creating the Akatsuki in order to gather the Biju to revive the legendary Jubi. He'd wrestled the Kyuubi from its Jinchuriki and set it loose on Konoha to deal with the only man who could challenge him, his own former sensei. After a brutal battle he had been forced to withdraw, but in the end he had succeeded. Minato-sensei was dead and the Kyuubi could easily be retrieved later with the rest. When he'd heard that the Yondaime Mizukage had gained control of the Sanbai, he had moved to destabilize the region by taking control of him and throwing the entire country into a civil war. The insane Mizukage had been killed and the Sanbai had taken time to reform. During this time the Uchiha clan had come under suspicion for the Kyuubi's attack and planned a coup to overthrow the reinstated Sandaime Hokage. Seeing a way to deal with the Uchiha clan and more importantly their Sharingan, he had offered to aid Uchiha Itachi in massacring the entire clan. In doing so he had effectively eliminated one of the most well-known ways of controlling the Biju, something that would have been very annoying to deal with at a later date when he finally got around to collecting his precious pets. It had gotten better when Itachi himself had joined the Akatsuki and had aided in collecting the Biju. Of course it all started going downhill when that brat Uzumaki Naruto had slipped through his fingers and was pulled into one of Kakashi's Kamui, which was a space-time ninjutsu Obito himself had acquired through the Mangekyo Sharingan. Instead of being sent to his own private dimension, Naruto had been dropped into this world called Earthland. He'd soon dispatched Pain and Konan to retrieve the Kyuubi after Pain destroyed Konoha only for the impossible to occur. Naruto had defeated them. It was then that Obito knew he would have to retrieve the Kyuubi himself if he wanted to complete his plans and so would need the proper force to deal with the locals. After capturing 7 of the Biju he had dispatched his new apprentice Uchiha Sasuke to deal with the Hachibi Jinchuriki only for him to fail, resulting in the Raikage calling a summit. The 4 shinobi villages allied together to oppose him after he had captured 7 of the Biju. Sasuke had killed Danzo, though in the end it had pushed his Mangekyo Sharingan too far and he had gone blind. Since the boy was of no more use to him, he killed the boy and ripped out his eyes. He then implanted Sasuke's Mangekyo Sharingan into himself and awakened an eternal Mangekyo Sharingan surpassing that of even Madara's own. He'd killed Yakushi Kabuto when the annoying snake appeared before him and then unleashed his newly created Zetsu clone army on the 4 great shinobi nations that called themselves the Shinobi Alliance. The 4th Great Shinobi War was quick and violent, resulting in the complete destruction of Kumo and most of the Land of Lightning. The clones were mostly cannon fodder during the day, but at night after they had transformed into Alliance ninja, they had infiltrated enemy lines and slaughtered everything they could, forcing the Alliance to call a full-scale retreat. Upon seeing the Shinobi Alliance forces pull back to Kumo, Obito himself had stepped onto the battlefield and with his new powers granted to him by his eternal Mangekyo Sharingan he had crushed the 4 Kage. With the destruction of Kumo and the death of the Kages, his only remaining opposition was the Hachibi Jinchuriki. Kurabi had complete control of the Hachibi sealed within him, but even he fell against Obito and quickly had the Hachibi ripped from his body and sealed within the Geto Mazo. That only left the Kyuubi. Most of the Zetsu clones had been killed during the war, but there was still 100 of them left, more than enough to deal with the local response forces in Magnolia. He had set out to and traveled to Earthland via the same method he had sent Pain and Konan, through his own Jakuken Ito. Uzumaki Naruto would fall just like everyone else and he would gain possession of the Kyuubi, reviving the Jubi so he could become its Jinchuriki and finally complete his plans. Kuchios no Jutsu, Obito spoke clearly as he slammed his hand down on the roof of a building. The Hachibi no Kyogyu appeared with an echoing roar in an explosion of smoke, flattening buildings and sending the people into a state of panic. "Do it, Hachibi," he ordered as it flung its tentacle tails around and leveled several of the surrounding buildings. "Tenrin, Sakurin Soto." Urza called out, decked out in her Heaven's Wheel armor and her sword spinning around her, cutting down the plant-like creatures that assaulted them. "What are these things?" she demanded. "They seem to be Zetsu," Itachi answered calmly as he encased himself in his Susanoo and tore into them with his sword. "Though I thought there was only one of him." "Karyu no Tekken." Natsu roared as he slammed his flame-covered fist into one of the Zetsu clones, burning it into ash. "If Zetsu is here then." Itachi trailed off as he looked to the side. Naruto was standing atop the roof of the nearby building staring straight at the rampaging Hachibi with his red coat fluttering in the wind. All this destruction was his fault and he knew it. If he hadn't come here then the Akatsuki wouldn't have attacked. In the end he only had himself to blame for staying here and causing trouble for everyone else. Madara was here and he wasn't sending one of his pawns this time, he was finally coming after the Kyuubi personally. "Naruto!" Urza yelled from the ground, causing him to look at her. "Go get him! Go get him!" He smiled at those words. "Thanks, Urza-chan," Naruto whispered back just before the Hachibi roared and leveled a glare in his direction. "So you've noticed me?" he asked aloud as red and blue orbs of chakra compressed into a single sphere in its mouth. "I won't let you use that here," he declared as his eternal Mangekyo Sharingan formed in his eyes. "By Jidama," the Hachibi, Gyuki, bellowed as he launched the black chakra ball like a cannonball. "Kamui," Naruto said as space and time distorted in front of him. The orb crashed into the distortion and was quickly pulled in before vanishing completely. "Now for you," he said as he concentrated on the tailed beast itself. Kamui, he spoke again, and this time the vortex formed in the center of the Hachibi's chest. Jikuken Ito, declared a voice that he had never heard before as the vortex seemed to fall apart. What was that? Was it cancelled out? Naruto thought as he narrowed his eyes at the figure standing atop Gyuki's head. It's him, he added upon seeing the masked man. Uchiha Madara. This is not Madara, Kurama spoke from the back of his mind. His eyes are just like the real Madara and that brat of a teammate you used to have, but he's nothing but a fake. A fake? Naruto asked his inner demon. After everything he's done, how could he not be Madara? The very thought that there was someone else capable of the things that this man had done over the years other than Uchiha Madara was terrifying in its own right. Who are you? You're not Madara, so who the hell are you? Uzumaki Naruto, the masked man spoke clearly. Surrender the Kyuubi to me now and I will withdraw, sparing the lives of this entire city. Surrender? The offer was tempting considering the amount of destruction around them. But, you can take your offer and shove it up your ass. Naruto shot back. And answer my damn question. So be it, the masked man grunted as his own eternal Mangekyo Sharingan spun into existence. I'm no one, so why don't you just call me Toby? He was able to nullify my Kamui, but I wonder if he can. Naruto thought as he triggered his Sage mode. Senpo, Kamui, he called out as again he created a spiraling vortex of spacetime in the center of the Hachibi's chest, only this time the pull of gravity and sheer scale of it was far greater than before. Jikuken Ito, Toby again tried to counter, but this time didn't work. He was forced to jump off the Hachibi's head as Gyuki was sucked into the vortex along with most of the surrounding buildings. That was much more powerful than before, the Uchiha thought as he landed a far distance away and stared at the place where his precious pet had once been. I couldn't stop him from teleporting the Hachibi away this time. Kyaku Fuin. Naruto called out from behind him as a hand touched his back. Even though the Kyuubi Jinchuriki's hand simply phased right through his body, a seal spread across him causing him to jump away even though he knew it was already too later. Damn it, Toby cursed. He broke my connection to the Hachibi. Now it's just you and me, Naruto declared as he pointed right at him. I'm going to rip that mask of yours off and beat you to death with it. You want to remove this mask? Toby chuckled. You're welcome to try. Tsukuyami, they both whispered as their eyes locked. It was a battle of wills where the loser would spend 3 days locked in an illusionary hell. Though a mere few seconds passed in real time, the two had essentially been fighting each other for days by the time that the genjutsu ended. Had one of them not had the eternal Mangekyo Sharingan, then the victor would have been decided instantly, but since they both had those eyes it became a long drawn-out conflict until finally both of them pulled back and returned to the real world. A few seconds was all that passed. That accursed brat, Toby gritted in though. Shit, Naruto rasped as he shook himself. Pull yourself together, brat, Kurama growled from the back of his mind. This little shit controlled me once before, so you had better not lose to him, do you hear me? I hear you, furball, Naruto thought back as calmed. Jikuken Ito, Toby spoke clearly as space and time distorted around his right eye. Enten, Bakufu Ranbu, he called out as black flames erupted from his left eye and spun with the vortex in a spiraling tornado. This chakra of his? Naruto thought darkly. Shinseiten, Arakuru Arashur, he exclaimed as silver flames shot forth from his eyes like a directed hurricane and slammed into the vortex of black fire. So I was right, he thought sadly as he saw his silver flames effectively overpower the black flames before burning themselves out. This chakra very similar to Itachi's, meaning those eyes he now has were originally. Yes, Kurama confirmed. Those accursed eyes are the same ones that belonged to that little shit Sasuke. Sasuke. Damn it, Naruto clenched his fists and launched several spears of silver fire at the Uchiha. Shinseiten, Ten no Ikari. That won't work, Toby sneered as he simply phased right through the flames. Don't you see how hopeless your situation really is? Senpo, Shinseiten, Umi Moru. Naruto called out as silver flames shot out and set the world in front of him ablaze. Still you don't give up, Toby grunted as he stood amidst the inferno, seemingly uncaring. I commend you for combining senjutsu with the power of your eyes, however in this case you've played right into my plan, he declared as the sky darkened and thunderclouds formed overhead. What the hell is this? Naruto thought as he stared up at the lightning storm. It's time that I ended this, Toby spoke clearly as he raised his hand skyward. Kirin. A monstrous tiger-like figure formed from the lightning before it struck down, destroying everything it touched in a flash of light. The two battling shinobi had moved into the forest outside the city during their though after the lightning strike, the battlefield had been carved to pieces and the trees around them had either been utterly destroyed or rendered lifeless. When the dust cleared, the only thing alive in the decent-sized crater were the two shinobi themselves, encased in their respected Susanoo. Those eyes you have, Naruto said quietly. They're Sasuke's, aren't they? So you recognized their chakra? Toby mused. Yes, they used to belong to your old friend, but I took them when he was of no further use to me. Use? Naruto whispered harshly. What did you do him? He was so easy to manipulate it was laughable, Toby chuckled. But without Itachi's eyes to replace his own he quickly went blind. I killed him and took his eyes for myself. You? Naruto trailed off as he shook in anger. Are you angry that I killed your old friend? Toby inquired. Don't be, his death is only temporary. I will bring him back along with everyone else once my Moon's Eye plan is completed. Moon's Eye plan? Naruto questioned. What the hell is that? It doesn't matter, Toby sighed and then narrowed his eyes at the blonde. Let's finish this, he said as his chakra spiked and his Susanoo grew until it towered over high, easily rivaling the height of a Biju. There's no time for second thoughts now, Kurama spoke from the back of his mind. Win or lose, it all comes down to this moment. Yeah, Naruto whispered aloud. I know. Enten, Kagetsuchi no Tsurugi. Toby called out as his Susanoo formed a long sword coated in black flames and slashed at the blonde. He may be fast but he's not fast enough, Naruto thought as he drew on Kurama's chakra and wrapped himself in his golden shroud. Augmented by his Susanoo and his Sage mode, Naruto was able to dodge the swipes from the sword and pulled away before the black flames caught him. Enten, Yasaka Magatama. Toby added as he started hurling dozens of giant Magatama wrapped in black flames that quickly tore apart the battlefield and sets it ablaze. He's trying to blanket the entire area in the hopes of getting me, Naruto thought as he evaded the barrage. Between your chakra, my Sage mode and my Susanoo, he can't touch me with that. You should consider yourself lucky that I'm letting you use your Sage arts with my chakra, Kurama shot back. The only reason I'm not interfering with the balance is because I want him dead more than you. We still need to work on your attitude, Naruto thought as he jumped back into the trees and started channeling chakra to his hands. All I need is one shot. Sweat started to trail down his neck as he created a pair of chakra arms to aid him. Chakra from him mixed with Kurama's and the natural energy around him to create a golden shuriken of energy that spun wildly in his hand. Here I come, he shouted as he swung his arm back. You still? Toby's eyes widened at the sight. Futon, Raisin Kamikaze. Naruto called out as he hurled the golden chakra shuriken at the Uchiha. Toby snarled in anger before he created another vortex and pulled himself inside, abandoning his Susanoo just as the chakra shuriken cut into it. Naruto watched as the sphere in the center of the shuriken expanded until it completely engulfed the chakra construct and the surrounding area. The spinning ball of wind and power tore the forest apart, sucking everything within its reach into it and shredding whatever did. Suddenly silence fell just before the sphere exploded outwards, leveling a good chunk of the remaining forest and leaving nothing but a mountain-sized crater in its wake. Toby reappeared in the center of the crater a moment later. Uzumaki Naruto, don't you ever give up? Toby sneered at him. You've got to be kidding me, Naruto thought. That was my best shot. That last attack had drained him of his chakra, his natural energy and what chakra he had taken from Kurama after their battle. Would like me to give you a little power? Kurama asked him. Are we going to play chakra tug-of-war again? Naruto asked back. I told you before, Kurama countered. I want him dead more than you. Alright, Naruto agreed, let's do this together. He nodded as he brought his hand to the seal on his stomach and twisted it. The seal unraveled quickly as Toby's reformed Susanoo swung its flaming sword down upon his position, the massive chakra construct towering over him as it did so. You know someday we're going to have to settle this little grudge you have with me. After we've dealt with this little shit, Kurama nodded as the seal dissolved and the gates of his prison swung open. Let's go Kurama! Naruto shouted aloud as Kurama's chakra flooded his system and exploded upwards, blowing the Susanoo-encased Toby back a considerable distance. No! Toby trailed off as he righted himself and stared at the scene in front of him. Naruto's chakra shroud had opened up revealing a black undershirt of chakra underneath and his seal had spread to his hands and feet. 9 Magatama were engraved on the collar of the overcoat and the 6 whisker-like marks on his face had become black rectangular markings. He now stood inside the head of a mountain-sized version of Kurama made entirely out of golden chakra with the same seal engraved on the back of the 9-tailed fox. Kurama roared to the sky before dropped down on all fours and glaring at the masked Uchiha. I'm going to beat your ass into the ground Databeo. Naruto yelled as Kurama lunged forward. Accursed brat, Toby gritted out as his Susanoo swung its sword from the side. Kurama's tails lashed out and grabbed the arm holding the blade, stopping it in its tracks before he slammed his full weight into the armored chakra god's chest. Toby's Susanoo fell back and collapsed to the ground with a heavy thud. Kurama quickly jumped on top of it and bit down, his teeth ripping through the chakra armor. His tails flayed about, slamming down and pinning the Susanu's arms and legs to prevent it from fighting back. Go Kurama! Naruto cheered. Go Kurama! Naruto cheered. I'm not done yet. Tobi shouted back as he formed a hand seal. Mokuton, Mokuryu no Jutsu, a giant wooden dragon emerged from the ground behind them and quickly wrapped around Kurama. Mokuton? Since when could he do that? Naruto exclaimed in surprise. I don't know, but he's suppressing my chakra. Do something. Kurama yelled back as he struggled with the wood dragon. A sacrifice that clings to his ideals has no right to defy me, Tobi spoke with a glare. Drown in your ideals and die. Naruto. Kurama yelled again. Senpo, Susanoo. Naruto called out as he encased Kurama in his own senjutsu-enhanced Susanoo, giving Kurama the look of a true Akuma decked out in royal armor. This is just like Madara, Kurama mused with a smirk. As much as I hate that bastard, even I have to admit he had style, he said before swinging out with his tails and ripping the forest apart along with several of the neighboring mountains. This ends here, he roared as he started creating a large number of black chakra orbs in his mouth. This is not good. Tobi thought at the sight. Renzoku Baijidama. Kurama bellowed as he fired a volley of black chakra spheres at Tobi's Susanoo. Tobi dissolved his Susanoo and the black balls of death flew past him before slamming into the ground behind him, tearing up the battlefield in an explosion of light. Udama Baijidama, the Kyubi no Yoko roared one final time as he launched a much larger chakra orb at the masked Uchiha. Damn it, Tobi cursed aloud as he quickly became intangible again. The sphere exploded in a dome of light which washed over the landscape, illuminating the area to such a degree that the neighboring city of Magnolia could clearly see what was basically a second sun form on the horizon. The light died down a moment later and Kurama's form dissolved as Naruto dropped down to the ground. Kurama? Naruto asked as he felt the last of the fox's chakra leave him. I forgot to mention this, but since it was our first transformation it could only be maintained for 5 minutes, Kurama explained. Thanks anyway, Naruto nodded and looked over at his opponent. He was no longer wearing a mask. Uchiha Obito glared back at him hatefully with the remains of his mask lying at his feet. He had been unable to completely phase into his personal dimension because he had already exceeded the amount of time he could remain intangible. This battle was at an end, they were both already past their limits and they knew that neither of them could escape without the other killing them from behind as they retreated. That meant that the first one to land an attack would win. Let's finish this, Naruto spoke clearly as he started channeling chakra to his hand. Obito didn't say anything as he formed a set of hand seals and poured his remaining chakra into his left hand. Naruto blinked in surprise at seeing the familiar lightning chakra form in his hand before shaking himself. This guy had clearly picked up more from Sasuke than just his eyes, but that didn't matter right now. He rushed forward and Obito moved to intercept. Rasengan. Chidori. The two clashed with their respective attacks and the earth shook one last time as they fought for dominance. Finally, after several long and painful seconds, Naruto's attack broke through and struck Obito in the chest. The Uchiha was blown back out of the crater they had been fighting in and crashed into a small collection of broken trees. Naruto waited to see if his opponent would get back up as he felt the last of his strength start to leave him. The fake Madara didn't get back up. It was over. Chapter 29, Epilogue. Earthland, Magnolia/Fairy Tale. Urza Scarlet was a prideful woman often called the strongest woman in fairy tale, and she really was. She'd lost her parents as a child and being orphaned was kidnapped into slavery soon after. The torture she'd experienced while building the Tower of Heaven with the other slaves had nearly broken her, especially when she had lost an eye to her captors. After the ill-fated revolt in which only she had escaped, she had lost her mentor, awakened her magic and experienced true despair when she realized just how hopeless her dream of true freedom had been. She joined her mentor's guild, Fairy Tale, and tried to move on with her life. She made friends, enjoyed life as much as she could, and had even started to fall in love with the blonde idiot unconscious in the bed before her now. In the end, though, it had all kept coming back to the Tower of Heaven and her former comrades that finished building it. She had been ready to end it there, just her and Jalal, like it always been. She was supposed to die that day. She survived and continued moving forward, never stopping even when confronted with a released Kyubi no Yoko bearing down at her and her comrades. She'd watched as the man she loved struggle to keep fighting even when his body was broken and his very soul seemed to be tearing itself apart. She'd seen him give his all for what he believed in, and in the end she had fallen hopelessly in love with the reckless idiot. Naruto. Urza whispered as she stared at his bedridden form. He had confronted the man responsible for his parents' deaths and had emerged victorious before passing out from exhaustion. His body had been pushed beyond its limits, and were it not for the QB's presence in his body boosting his own life force, then he would have died then and there. The battle had completely burned down the forest on the outskirts of Magnolia, and in its place was now a very large canyon, a testament to the scale of the death match that had taken place. Eza? Naruto strained out as his eyes flickered. Naruto? Urza asked hopeful. I feel like hell, Naruto groaned as he turned his head to look over at her. I was worried, Urza smiled as relief flooded her eyes. I'm sorry, Naruto apologized. But it was something I had to do. I know, Urza nodded. Just the same as she had to confront Jalal at the Tower of Heaven and lay her past to rest, Naruto had to face the man responsible for all the pain in his life. You came back. Yeah, Naruto smiled back. It's over. No, it's not, Urza shook her head at that. It's only beginning. I love you. We should leave them alone for now, Mira sighed while holding a tray of food. And I made this for them too. I'm sure Natsu will enjoy it more, Itachi mused as they turned away. Are you ever going to smile? Mira asked suddenly. Excuse me? Itachi paused and turned towards her. It's nothing, Mira shrugged and walked past him. Strange woman, Itachi whispered and followed after her. Earthland, Magnolia/Fairy Tale. The 10th of October had always been just another day for Naruto, even though it had been his birthday. He'd never had anyone to really celebrate it, and to be honest he'd stopped caring a long time ago. But that changed when he had woken up this morning and realized exactly what this day would bring. This wasn't just another day, it wasn't even just his birthday, no. This was the day that he would marry the woman he loved more than the world itself. You seem nervous, Itachi commented. I'm getting married, Naruto responded with a look. What's there to be nervous about? You should calm down, Itachi suggested. I'm trying, Naruto sighed. Here we go, he said as the dreaded music from the piano started to play. Urza? She was dressed in a long stunning white dress with a see-through veil obscuring her face as she approached. Escorting her down the aisle was Natsu, and trailing behind her, holding the edge of her dress up off the ground, was Mira. As she reached the end of the aisle, Natsu let her go and sat down next to Lisanna while Mira moved over to the bridesmaids. Urza stepped up beside Naruto and smiled over at him beneath her veil. Dearly beloved, Makarov spoke from atop a large stool that allowed his to reach their height. We are gathered here today to join together this man and this woman in the bonds of holy matrimony. If any person can show just cause why they may not be joined together, let them speak now or forever hold their peace. He paused and waited a moment before continuing. Do you, Naruto Uzumaki, take Urza Scarlet to be your wife, to live together in the holy estate of matrimony? Will you love her, comfort her, honor and keep her, in sickness and in health, for richer, for poorer, for better, for worse, in sadness and in joy, to cherish and continually bestow upon her your heart's deepest devotion, forsaking all others, keep yourself only unto her as long as you both shall live? I do, Naruto answered, and the guild master turned to the redhead next. Do you, Urza Scarlet, take Naruto Uzumaki to be your husband, to live together in the holy estate of matrimony? Will you love him, comfort him, honor and keep him, in sickness and in health, for richer, for poorer, for better, for worse, in sadness and in joy, to cherish and continually bestow upon him your heart's deepest devotion, forsaking all others, keep yourself only unto him as long as you both shall live? Makarov asked of her. I do, Urza nodded with a smile beneath her veil. Very well, Makarov confirmed. Now for the rings, he said, and Itachi approached with said rings. Urza. Naruto trailed off and he slipped the ring onto her finger. It's been a long road and we've lost a lot on the way, but looking back on it I wouldn't change a thing. I love you more than anything else in this world and nothing will change how I feel. Naruto. Urza smiled back as she slipped the ring she held onto his finger. No matter what happens in the future that we are walking towards, I will not regret any of it. Let us walk into that future together and see where it takes us. I now pronounce you man and wife, Makarov declared. You may now kiss the bride. Naruto pulled her veil back and smiled before kissing her as her arms encircled his neck. Everyone assembled burst into cheers and clapping a moment later. The doors to the guild opened as the two pulled away and started walking down the aisle as confetti started to shower them. Once outside they spotted a full-grown Gamakichi waiting for them, dressed in a red coat, a large sword tied to his side and a pipe in his mouth. Naruto picked Urza up bridal style and jumped up onto the giant toad's head. Let's get out of here, Naruto grinned as he sat down with his wife in his arms. They had a honeymoon at the Akane resort to get to. As Gamakichi took off in the direction the writing on the back of his coat came into view of those who were watching the newlyweds leave. Just married.